You gotta help Alex figure out his moral position through a series of questions to figure out if he's a piece of shit.
I think I'm the most empathetic out of the four.
There's no way.
Out of the four of us, I'm the most empathetic.
It's not even like...
This guy's a fucking crazy person.
He's the most sensitive.
I have a switch.
For people he's never met before.
I have a switch.
Yeah, but like if they're
I love
that's
everybody.
not real. That's not real empathy.
No, I love everybody. I love everybody. You start
so
good.
easy.
You start
That's
good,
so
and then
easy.
you got to fuck it up.
You're
Everybody
like
starts bad for you, and
what
then
do
they have to
You're
like.
Hare Krishna. That's the you know what I mean? Like
I don't know
you're
what that
trying
is.
too hard.
I don't know
The
what that
people
You're
playing the
basically Hindu.
bongos.
You're saying you're Hindu.
No, Hare Krishnas are not Hindu.
What are they?
Fucking frauds.
They worship Krishna.
Yeah, frauds, dude. I tried reading one of the leader's books, and this is why I immediately tapped out. The guy interviewing him goes, "You preach not having like leading a materialistic life, but you will accept like gold gifts from people and whatever." And the guy goes, "Well, if you're giving me the gift, it's like giving it to God." And I was like, "All right, fuck this guy, dude. Fuck this guy all the way."
I like him now. That's why I'm into it.
It's a mean thing not to accept the gift. They went
But
out
why do
their
you
way
think
to.
you have the most empathy?
I just hear the way you guys talk sometimes, and you guys are pieces.
What are you performing for?
Not real.
I'm really not.
You're empathetic for people you don't know.
I honestly feel that way.
You think that we
honestly
lack empathy for whom, though?
No,
For
I don't
whom?
think you lack
Strangers.
empathy. I think I have the most empathy.
You're the most sensitive.
Yes.
Okay, let me. Okay, ready? But let's just do
No,
a
we're
test.
not starting a podcast.
We're just gonna do a test.
All
Can
right.
you just speak in an Indian accent? And let's just see how much empathy you have.
No,
for
but
it.
that's love. He knows I'm not laughing at him.
No, you are. No, you are. He used to make the jokes, and it would hurt my feelings more the way you laughed because I was like, "Oh, he really feels that way."
You think they sound
Oh,
funny?
see, if I
Do
knew
you
it
think
hurt your
they
feelings, I
sound
wouldn't
funny?
laugh.
Do you think they sound funny?
Do you
Yes,
think-
we all think they sound funny.
So,
Counterpoint, honestly.
yeah, that was good. Okay,
Son,
so
we
they
think Chinese people sound funny.
I
we
guarantee
think
you,
accents
any
are funny.
three-syllable word in Indian says better than you. Say perspiration.
I'm not saying they don't. That's the thing. I just think
That would be the word you would ask me to say.
Listen, we're gonna get to the bottom of it
I just
today.
like accents.
By the end of this podcast, I promise you. Alex, you didn't know this is why you were going to be brought here, right? You thought we were going to talk about the Gnostic Gospels.
Yeah, man, I gotta speak to my manager, man.
But reality is we're going to talk about Alex Media and his lack of empathy. And there's nothing more annoying than someone who has no empathy that thinks they have the most.
honestly think I have the most empathy. Like maybe Mark comes close.
Can you help us? Can you figure this out?
Maybe. No, like the
Mark
least
is the
between
most
you two.
detached. What are you talking
Mark
about?
just started having feelings when he was a kid. He's told us about this.
I know
Yeah,
about
but he
feelings.
could
I
do
know
no
about
wrong.
feelings.
He doesn't want to like hurt anybody.
That doesn't make you a good person. He's afraid of going to hell.
That
Everything he
doesn't
does
make
is
you a good-
selfish.
I
He's
doubt
the
it doesn't
most selfish.
I don't care what's the
There's
reasoning.
no selfless deed.
I don't care what's the reasoning, but he doesn't do anything wrong. You make enemies when no one has done shit to you.
But
That
it could
is
be
true.
justice. It could be
That
justice.
is true.
I know.
Crazy.
Because
I never do that.
I see people, and I see you. You lack empathy. I see you, dog.
All right, we agree to disagree.
I see you.
Guys, today our guest is an Oxford-educated philosopher whose debates have amassed hundreds of millions of views. He argues that incest is fine.
Okay.
Alex, this is on your Wikipedia. I just want to point out that you can kill people if you have a brain tumor, and that democracy is immoral. We have Alex O'Connor on the pod. We're very excited about this. This is
struggling through that.
Dude, I mean, the first one hit me hard. This is a real. This is on your Wikipedia. I just snagged this from your Wikipedia. No big deal. Yeah.
The pleasure is yours. I think something might have got lost in translation there, but perhaps we can go through them. Why?
Yes. I didn't say you believe it.
You seem to bring it up. This. You started with what? Incest?
Yeah, it's because I've been watching White Lotus, man.
You're asking for a mate. Is
Yeah. I do have a brother. I do have a brother.
Like, Alex, just like
I have a brother,
talk
but
me
I could do
through
better. I have a brother, but I could do better.
Yeah.
He's not hot enough.
No, this is obviously some of the debates that you've had
Yeah,
where you're arguing intellectually if these things have like negative repercussions in society. What is the idea? Why even entertain this? You're not a comedian like us. This is all we argue all the time.
That's right. That's the funny thing, and not funny in your sense, is that I'm not actually making an opinion here. What I'm basically doing is like throwing out views and ideas.
Yeah.
And if you think there's something up with it,
Yeah.
then that's going to help you work out like what you think about the world. Like it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. The thing that matters is if you think like incest is wrong, I'm going to ask why you think that.
Yeah.
And try to get to the bottom of what's actually motivating your ethics. And most of the time, people are more confused about these things.
Define wrong, because one could argue that it would probably fit the most perfect.
It's that's right.
Have you used that argument?
I haven't actually. And I'm
I saw a great comment that you look like the kid from Adolescence grown up, and now that you're here, I can't not see it. Why'd you say that? Now I'm gonna say that. It worked out for him. A little bullying turned him into a real proper intellectual. You know what I mean? Like this is
You're the
amazing.
best case scenario.
He really is.
That is what bullying at school does. It turns you into someone like me.
But you were never bullied. You're a tall, handsome kid. You're smart. Did you go through any bullying?
Well, I am now. Yeah, most of it was from the teachers, though, unfortunately, because.
Were you a pain in the ass?
Yeah, but then people like really like celebrate this. You know, when people like try to really self-indulgently say like, you know, I was the kid who was always debating the teachers and giving it back, and it's like. That doesn't make you clever. That just makes you a pedant. It just makes you like this annoying ADHD kid that's like holding up the rest of the class.
In America, we have a way of getting them out of here.
Medicine.
School shootings.
Bullets. Bullets and medicine.
Yeah, we can talk about the ethics of that too.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about defending that in some way?
I haven't thought about the ethics of defending school shooters. However, I have thought about the concept of children as child soldiers. See, I do a series called Philosophical Hot Takes, where I get people to submit like their philosophical hot takes, and I rank them on a scale that goes from like mild, spicy. And I was at an Indian restaurant once, and one of the options was Indian spicy. So that's the top option. And the opposite of spicy.
I'll behave. I'll behave.
He didn't do
He's a monster.
He is a monster.
You're legitimately
He is a
autistic. What are you
monster.
talking about? You're the most empathetic.
Man,
Empathy
let the
is
guy cook.
essentially self-serving, though. This is the thing. Like, if you're the most empathetic, it means that you're the most selfish. What is empathy?
We knew it. We've been saying this for a decade. He is the most selfish.
So you are saying I'm the most empathetic?
Let's see.
That's why I didn't say that.
Why does empathy make you the most
What
selfish?
is empathy? What do you think empathy is?
Caring about other people.
Yeah,
and
we
what
just
they're
call
going
it gay.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. There's that, and that definitely is self-serving to some degree.
Yeah.
Caring about other people, like caring, it's essentially taking suffering in other people's suffering. It's like if I have empathy for you, it means that when you suffer, I kind of suffer for it, right? I don't want you to suffer.
I don't believe I suffer for it.
About me.
I understand what you're going through, and that must be hard.
Sure, but I can understand what you're going through and think that that's great, like awesome. I'm
Yeah,
really happy that you're going through
sociopathy.
that. So the only thing that makes you empathetic is when you understand what someone else is going through and you feel bad for it. You get upset about it. Look at like when we get heroes. Like imagine somebody like the firefighter who runs into the burning building.
Sorry, hold on. Al just fixed his posture, looked into the distance, and was like, I don't even know where I am right now.
I'm still on the selfish thing. I'm like, it is kind of selfish because it makes me feel good that I'm caring for others.
No, but what he's saying is that you are taking on their struggle, so you actually feel bad for them.
Yeah,
so
like,
it's about your
like,
feelings.
If the firefighter runs into the burning building and they come out and someone says, "Oh, you're such a hero," and the guy says, I couldn't not. I had to. You know, like when I saw someone in there, I just had to do it. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. It's like, what are you saying, man? You did it for yourself? You did it for your own. You did it so that you can sleep at night. You know, empathy is essentially self-serving. This is the thing. Like,
but is that necessarily bad?
No.
It's a good reward
in my view,
matrix for humanity,
there
right?
is no good and bad. I think that morality is all a...
What I mean good and bad is like, is it beneficial for society that I get rewarded for doing a quote-unquote benevolent
act?
act?
But that's why we think it's good, because it's beneficial for society.
So it's
But
almost like we
the idea of
shouldn't-
morality and good and bad, in my view, is all just a smokescreen. It's a fugazi, as they say. I like, seriously, is it just like people talk about ethics as if it's objective, right? So, for example,
can you define ethics?
No. Usually yes, but just not for you.
No, but just for everybody watching. Like, what exactly is ethics a study
is
of?
broadly the idea of like right and wrong,
Right and
like
wrong.
good and bad, and depending on who you ask, it might be like human flourishing. So like what gives you the good life? You know, what is that all about? So for a Christian, it might be living in accordance with God's will, or for an atheist, it might be what's beneficial to society, right? If you're a moral objectivist and you believe that ethics is like a real thing, it means you think that there are actually just good and bad things in the world. There's right and there's wrong.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. Most people's intuitions say that there is such a thing. In my view, it's essentially an evolutionary byproduct. For example, is it just a coincidence that, generally speaking, we think that you have a duty to care for your children, right? You also have a duty to care for your cousin.
Yeah.
But you probably have less of a duty to care for your cousin than your child. Like if your child is starving and your cousin is starving, you're going to help the child over the cousin, right? And
Absolutely.
we think that that is like the right thing to do in that circumstance.
Yes.
Is it just a coincidence that you happen to share proportionally exactly the same amount of genes with the child versus the cousin? You share more genes with your child than with your cousin. You share more genes with your cousin
Yes.
than with a distant cousin
Yes.
or a stranger, or then again, even someone in a different country.
So taking care of your
And
child.
it just so happens
Yes.
that how much like genetic sharing, how much genetic similarity we have with these people just happens to line up with how much we think we have a moral duty to care about them.
Yeah.
Isn't that a strange coincidence?
Yeah.
But if I saw a starving kid and my cousin who's 23 couldn't eat, I'd tell my cousin to get a job and I'd give the kid food. I don't need to be related to them. Am I crazy?
You
might not think that 'cause
you
you're
might be
completely
right,
selfish.
man.
I forgot.
You might be right about that. Akash got a lack of empathy. That was crazy.
I forgot
that
we were in
was
America.
Great. No. I
That's the problem
understand
with
what
talking
you're
about
saying.
ethics to an American is that if you give some kind of thought experiment about a drowning child or someone who's like in poverty or something, it's like, well, just get a job, man.
Yeah.
Just get a job.
Bring yourself up by the bootstraps.
Invest
or
in the
whatever.
S&P and just like you get like you wait like 20 years and you'll be able to buy yourself some lunch.
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yes.
I think the problem with
That's the idea.
the problem with thought experiments is that people often pick up on like totally the wrong thing. My least favorite thing that people do.
Wait,
ever.
I don't want to move on from the thing you just brought up. I think it was really interesting. It's
Yeah,
like,
we'll keep going on that.
no, specifically, like, okay, let's say humans are bound.
He's like, back to incest. I just really, need to know.
But
Just please help me out here, man.
What the motivation for a behavior is doesn't really matter as long as it pushes society forward. Now, what is pushing society forward? I mean, just like propagating the world with more of our DNA. Is that the idea?
Well, unless you think that having children is immoral. This is the thing. Like,
I don't think it's immoral. But is it a bad thing?
you can just say like, oh well, you know, what's good is like what benefits society, and it's like, well, you have to tell me what benefiting society.
And we have to define society.
Exactly, man.
There's
There are
a
people
lot
in
of
this world who
definitions.
think that the best thing we could do for the planet would just be to destroy all human beings.
Yeah.
Right. And so for them, better for society means whatever is the most self-deleterious behavior that you can possibly.
So how much of
commit.
when you're doing these debates is it like defining vocabulary?
All the time. Most conversations that people have is just a matter of
That's marriage.
definition. Yeah.
It really is. Like, so it's
When
like
you think you're arguing, but you're actually not.
Yeah.
If you, put it this way, right? If I said a sentence and I sincerely meant it, if you understood every single word that I was saying in the same way as I did, like you defined it in the same way with the same connotations, I think by definition, you would just agree with me.
yeah.
I think there can be no disagreement if you're just saying the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
So most of the time, it's a linguistic dispute.
Yeah. Yeah, an emotional reaction to certain words, a perception of what those words mean.
And so a lot of the time, what we're actually doing is defining terms. So when we're like, oh, is this thing right
Do you
or
do
wrong?
that before? Like, let's say you're going to have a big public debate where you go be like, hey, let's just decide what these different things mean so we don't get bogged down.
You have to
during
some
it.
degree, but most of the time, the debate will sort of focus on what a word means. So if we're debating whether something's good or bad,
That's
right?
annoying.
It is, but you're trying to work out what good actually means. Because you say that incest is great, I say that incest is terrible.
Why are you putting that part on me? Because it could have been anything, right? It's a hypothetical. It's a weird way that you position it. What does that have to do?
Just a quid
What are the
pro quo,
ethics in that?
Now you know how it feels. I'm going to put it on your Wikipedia page, right? Anything you can edit Wikipedia.
We had to start the episode off with a banger.
I
Like,
can
I
sit
had
down
to
on that.
introduce everybody to
No,
Alex
my whole
O'Connor.
task now
Literally
is to like,
bang her.
I want to box you into an ethical corner where you have to admit that according to your worldview, incest is okay, just so I can then go and put it on your Wikipedia.
Well, let's define what
so
okay
you know
means.
how it feels.
Can we define okay?
Depends what you mean by okay. I mean,
Yes. Does anybody get harmed? I think I've actually heard the incest argument before, and I think that like.
do you think that incest is wrong?
Yeah, I think I have like a knee-jerk reaction to say it's wrong 100%. But if the idea of wrong is like, does it hurt anybody? As long as you're not making a retarded kid, I guess it doesn't hurt anybody. And if both parties are consenting, then it's fine.
Well, this is part of the problem. Is that
This is like, is gay incest wrong? You're
yeah,
like,
so
not really.
people often say like, well, you know, same-sex incest, and I'm like, why do you specify same-sex incest? No, like because well, otherwise there's the risk of having a child, and the child will be disabled, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what's wrong with having a disabled child?
Well, we know.
Hold on, suddenly
We know.
is that just like immoral?
You have to make them a
to have a
TikTok.
disabled
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
And then Al's going to jerk off to it. It's going to be like a whole
Bro, did you guys watch what I posted? I'm sorry. Did you watch what I posted on Instagram the other day about the guy? It's got to be a TV show or something. But
Oh, the specials.
Is that from the specials?
Yeah. Where they go to
They go to Thailand,
Yeah.
and he doesn't believe in ladyboys. His retarded or his special needs or whatever brother doesn't believe in ladyboys. He goes, listen, they have willies, and he goes, no, they don't. And he goes, I'm not gonna do the accent, but you can imagine it. He goes,
Yeah, he'd hate
but
to,
no,
hate to
they
offend
don't.
anyone.
Exactly. He goes, no, they don't. He goes, they have willies, and then they take him to a ladyboy show, and he's got like a beer in his hand, and he is having the time of his life. And at the end of the show, this theatrical experience, part of it is the ladyboy exposes her true self, takes off all her makeup, takes off the wig, and then he stands out there on stage, ta-da, and the audience is going crazy. They're like, what a performance. And then just pans to this kid, and he's just sitting there going, he's absolutely furious.
Well, we've all been there, haven't we?
Guys, tour dates. This weekend, I'm going to be in Cincinnati, Ohio, Liberty Township specifically. I'm going to be there Thursday through Friday at the Funny Bone. Then September 11th through the 13th, I'm going to be in Dania Beach, Florida. That is far from any who wants to blow up Florida. What kind of person would do such a thing? So it's a safe show to come to. Be there. September 25th and 27th, I'm rounding out my Ohio tour in Cleveland. October 5th, Dubai. Hurry up and buy those tickets. They're selling out. We might have to move to a bigger venue or figure something out, but right now we're about to sell out. And then all those dates and more, akashsingh.com. We got big things getting announced soon, guys. Big things. Also, Mark has tour dates. You can suck his dick in Montreal, Toronto, or Detroit. Those dates respectively are August 22nd, August 23rd, and December 6th. Why is there such a big gap? I don't know. Tour bookers, get your shit together. Comedy clubs, get your shit together. This guy got 3 open months. What is that? September, October, November. Book the man. MarkGagnonLive.com.
Can we do some thought experiments and ethical dilemmas to test everyone's internal moral code?
I love this.
Yeah, of course we can. I mean, firstly, when we do a thought experiment, it's worth pointing out that people often get really picky with it. So if I say, you've heard of the trolley problem, right?
Yes.
Like someone's tied to a track or whatever, and people will always say well, why can't I just untie them? Or try and come up with shit outside.
This is not that show.
My least favorite thing that people do
Yeah.
is when, if you're watching Star Wars and there's a plot hole and you say, well, that doesn't make sense. Why does he kiss his own sister or something? Well,
This is 2 for 2 right now. We're 2 for 2.
I'm getting a bit of a reputation.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a brother. We tend not to talk too publicly about that.
Can we just FaceTime him and see what he's wearing?
He's probably handsome.
Well, I mean, he must be handsome. I mean, if he's my brother. Actually, I had a friend once who is a homosexual, and he on 2 separate occasions. Then I found out he was
I need to point out, it only happened one time.
he told me on 2 separate occasions. On one occasion, he says, I actually really look like your brother. And on a separate occasion, without thinking about it, he says, Alex, your brother's quite hot, I think I
knew it.
And I was thinking...
That's where this comes from. You noticed.
So what do you think it is that he's not into you? Personality or?
I was starting to read between the lines and think that maybe he was sort of...
Wait, your brother and this guy?
No, not that. I just think, if you sort of independently say that you look like your brother, and then on another occasion say, I kind of fancy your brother, you're thinking,
Here's the thing. You think that gay men care about looks. They just care about holes. So as long as there was one available...
They're men.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't all been there, but I'm...
Wait, you what?
I guess you know from experience.
What homosexual acts?
Yeah, no. Now, if you want to talk about immorality, that's where it really gets off the ground. Incest is fine, but homosexuality
why is that such a big deal?
But this is the thing, right? Seriously,
You were going to give a thought experiment, and then we derailed.
Seriously, though,
About
when you say
Yes.
okay, incest, yeah, I can't think of a reason it's wrong. I've just got this knee-jerk emotional reaction.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that way about homosexuals, man.
I don't.
And so you open the door to condemning basically anything that you
Actually,
think is a little bit icky.
I think that makes
Which
sense.
is a problem, right? But anyway,
No, it's not a problem. I actually I think that there's probably something biologically wired in to feel that. Because when I see 2 dudes making out, and somebody said it, maybe it was a Bill Burr, but one of them's got a beard, you're just like, whoa.
yeah,
that's a lot.
obviously you're going to be wired to find it kind of gross.
But I also feel that way about ugly people doing it. So maybe
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, but is it immoral? Is it wrong?
I don't think they should
If the answer is no, then
But I never said there was anything about morality. I just said I had this knee-jerk reaction. You put morality into it.
yeah, you don't think homosexual people should procreate. I don't think you're going to have much problem,
I don't think they can.
much of a problem getting that
No, I think that they should
that
procreate.
off the ground.
I mean, how do we get more of them? They're sneaking some coming somebody.
That's actually a really interesting evolutionary question.
Where do they come from? Clearly, God wanted them here if he keeps making them, but they can't make more of them.
That might be true.
They're like gremlins.
They're made to become priests.
Yeah. Say again?
God needs priests.
God needs priests.
No, but seriously,
Alex, we were so close. We were so close.
Look,
He's spinning.
I'm dead serious.
Some say swallowing.
Especially in Catholicism, where
Yes.
you're not allowed to get married. What do you do if you are a devout Catholic who realizes you're a homosexual and so has to commit to celibacy as a point of morality? What is your only option? Well, you have to pick something which turns that celibacy into a virtue, and that is the priesthood. Wow. Hence, ending up with loads of gay priests.
Wow. Do you think that's the reason? Mark's mom has a different, more conspiratorial reason.
You've heard the two Catholic priests get pulled over by the police. The police walk up to the car and say, "I'm so sorry to disturb you, gentlemen. We're out here looking for two child molesters." And the priests go, "We'll do it."
Do they do it in England too? Do the priests get after the kids in England as well? Is that
it has been known to happen, but a lot of my Catholic friends inform me that sort of pederastry is just as much of a problem in other Christian denominations too. And so recently, our Church of England, the head of the Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury, was involved in a scandal. Not him doing anything himself, but not responding properly to a scandal involving sexual abuse. And my Catholic friend texted me and was like,
Finally.
Thank goodness. Somebody else for once. It happens everywhere. But the Catholic priests have more of a reputation for it, I think, because of the institutional nature of it, but also because these priests are forced to be celibate. They're not allowed to marry. It's like, okay, yeah, let's just get a bunch of like horny, sexless, like essentially involuntarily celibate, except for the sense that they're voluntarily priests, put them all into a room together and put loads of children under their care and see what happens. What a great idea that is, you know?
All right.
Well, I think you made a huge...
Don't do that. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you're a pedophile.
Yeah, exactly. Just because you're not
gay.
fucking doesn't mean you want to fuck kids. That's a weird jump. You made a big jump.
No, because
there.
they're gay.
Yeah.
Because they're not having any sex.
Yeah, but not having sex doesn't make you want to fuck kids.
Perhaps not.
We got him.
But it does mean.
Now, I will be honest. If I want to be honest, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yes.
I once didn't have sex for 16 years. And then I had sex with a 16-year-old.
Whoa, dude.
So you might be onto something. You might be onto something.
That's a great point.
You might be onto something,
Wow.
Alex.
Yeah. And when was that?
From 0 to 16. We got to clear that up. Immediately. But yeah, there is a little bit of a leap there. This idea if you don't have sex for a long period of time and then all of a sudden you're attracted to children, you would hope that that's not the reality.
But
of
the thing
world.
is, I think that a lot of strange sexual behavior is
due to repression,
opportunistic, let's say. So this is the thing. There's an important distinction to be made here between there's a great essay that was written by an old tutor of mine called Amir Srinivasan called "What Does Fluffy Think?" and it's about bestiality. And she carefully distinguishes between zoophilia and bestiality. Because zoophilia is sexual attraction to animals. Bestiality is just having sex with an animal. And they're different things. You can like be specifically sexually attracted to something and have sex with it for that reason. Or you could be like sexually attracted to anything and everything, but you just have sex with this because it's like the opportunity.
Have you seen the guys fucking the donkeys before?
I've not seen that actually. That's... I don't...
You didn't see that Vice
like a
documentary?
casual thing.
There was this Vice documentary back in the day before Vice became what Vice is now. They were into like edgy, almost like kind of like a British punk culture. I think a lot of it was derived from. You're familiar with Vice?
Yeah.
And he went to like Colombia and he was just like, videotaping dudes who would like get behind donkeys and fuck the shit out of them.
Yeah, why is bestiality immoral?
That's a great question.
Because the beast can't consent.
Riddle me this. If it's okay to eat animals, why is it not okay
I
to
say
have
that
sex with them?
too. I say that too.
He's like, yeah, what? Come on.
We're doing something crazier.
Yeah,
Your Honor.
You know what I mean? You're gonna eat it. I can't just tenderize it.
It does. No, seriously, I was a vegan for a number of years, and I think factory farming is like the greatest moral emergency that we're currently facing. It's absolutely unbelievable what we're doing to animals. But the interesting thing is people have such a hard line against bestiality. It's like, okay, I can take a pig, I can raise it in a cage, and if it's too sick to be profitable, I can take it by the hind legs and cave in its skull against the bars of the cage that its mother is being held in. I can force that pig into a gas chamber, choking to death on carbon dioxide. But the moment I take my dick out, suddenly,
it's
it's
fucked
like
up.
this horrible problem.
So what is that?
Well, I think it goes to show that people aren't thinking about ethics in the way that they think they are. Because they'll say like, oh, well, because it harms the animal or the animal can't consent. And it's like, well, okay, but you're okay with eating animals.
Okay, real quick.
And suddenly the ethical position shifts.
Yes. If we're discussing it in like a thought experiment.
Yeah.
The
It's
thing
like
I was
hypothetically if we were having sex with animals.
Yeah, no. I guess what I mean, like, there's this like impulse, this like knee-jerk reaction thing I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, sure.
And okay, I guess base level is how much do we think that is like learned or taught, and is there any of it that just exists within us?
Yeah, I mean, there's
in our
got to
biology?
be like an internal biological sense.
And is it not dissimilar from like the reaction to like being close to fire? We're like, oh, that burns. Do we have that reaction to having sex with an animal, and is that baked into us so we don't waste our cum on animals?
Is that how you feel when you're near a homosexual?
You said it, not me.
Like
Okay.
it starts to get hot and sweaty and
And they just like they're so handsome.
yeah, you know,
right?
it's just like
They are.
gosh.
And we have so much in common. We could just talk about things. Like,
Yeah.
Starting to get a bit hot under the collar when you.
sex is only 15 minutes a day. What are we gonna do with the rest of the day?
I think that there is definitely an evolutionary instinct, but the thing is, what ethics probably is, broadly speaking, you asked for a definition, and I think a good definition of ethics is the continual process of trying to overcome our base animalistic material drives to act in accordance with what we sort of rationally think is the right thing to do.
And why would something rational be better than what our base instinct is?
Because our base instincts evolved in a totally different kind of organizational structure. We evolved like running around in tribes on the savannah, right? So, for example, tribalism.
You didn't have to look at Al for that.
He looked at Mark.
That was
he was looking at Mark.
fucking horrible.
He saw Mark's forehead. He's like, some of us are more evolved than others.
I just smell the most tribal, probably.
Mark's gonna walk out here on his knuckles. You're right. Okay, you were saying.
and
You
of
were saying.
course, you noticed that I've been looking at you every time I said homosexual too.
It's the mustache.
The thing about evolving in that situation is that like you're going to be suspicious of anybody from a different tribe, right? And that makes sense. It makes sense to be suspicious of anyone who doesn't look like you because there's like no reason to trust them. You're not doing like trade with them. That doesn't exist.
Sure.
You're just fighting each other. And so you just evolve this knee-jerk reaction to be distrusting of people who don't look like you. Then like, agricultural revolution, boom, all of that kind of stuff. And now we live in a society and everybody is like mingling all together. And we think racism is just awful and terrible and really, really bad.
God. So how do we overcome some of these knee-jerk
So
instincts?
because of the change of our circumstances, we've developed this thing which like every single all of the proud moments of like human history are characterized by like overcoming animalistic baselessness. You know what I mean? Like that's always the case.
So you call it animalistic baselessness or animal instinct
baseness,
or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But let's just use that as like, bare minimum. Now, some of those still apply and are probably good. The ones that don't fit in modern society
Like what?
are the ones, I'm attracted to a beautiful woman. We get along. The feeling is great. I want to mate with her and create a family.
Sure.
I want to protect my kids because I have more DNA in those kids than I do my cousin.
Do you also have rational reasons to think those things?
Yeah, sure.
So there are still like it's not like sometimes you are just listening to your base instincts. You still are like rationalizing. It's just that sometimes that rationalizing it links up with what your base desires are, and like thank goodness this will be an easy one. But sometimes it doesn't, and we're constantly just trying to act in accordance with what we rationalize.
Yeah, I'm not against the rationalization of it, but like sometimes we are putting that rationalization on posthumously. Is that the term? After the fact, right? And then like, but it doesn't mean that knee-jerk instinct is still useful in society.
Yeah,
There are certain things that work.
If you've like it will still be useful when you've rationalized something and think that this is actually the right thing to do, and you happen to still have a knee-jerk reaction to do it. That's really helpful. That's great.
helpful. Got it.
But the problem is that we've got knee-jerk reactions to all kinds of things. It wasn't that long ago that the homosexuality was criminal,
Yeah.
and you could be thrown in jail for doing so.
And then what do you get to do? It's kind of like a gift.
I know.
Right? What a punishment. I'm with these guys that work out all day. And they're locked in a room with me. What if it was benevolent? What if that punishment was like, hey, let's just get them together? Now, you're kind of talking that shit, right? Putting them in the jail is much better than like lighting them on a fire or throwing them off a building or
That's
these
probably
other
true
things.
because some people do that as well. But even the very way that we punish people has evolved. You know, it used to be like if you commit suicide a few hundred years ago, there are places where you would have your body dragged through the street. Your inheritance would not go to your family. You could not be buried in a grave because it was thought immoral. Because we have a knee-jerk reaction to stay alive. Of course we do.
I don't know if that's the reason why they would punish it.
Makes perfect evolutionary sense for us to think that whatever is going to cause our own death will be a bad thing. And
But
so
why do you think that they put that punishment on top of it?
to discourage people from committing suicide.
But why? What is like the downstream effect of that?
Well, because like self-preservation is like an evolutionary important thing, right?
I think maybe it's the numbers of the tribe. You need to protect the tribe.
So
or like your family is now the burden of the tribe, and now they
like
disproportionately have to
all
take
of that
care
kind
of
of
them.
stuff. All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there are rational reasons that they put even back in the day.
Yeah. But of course, like it's not like we've just worked out in the past like 50 years all of these rational reasons. That they've always been there. It's just that they've sort of come up against this moral feeling that people have had.
So is that like the justification at the university level for looking into ethics? You're like, we've done so much rationalization of our behavior throughout history. We should continue to do it, and then we will continue to. We're not going to evolve at the same rate as society, but we can create behaviors that would be more harmonious with society.
No, the reason for doing it at an academic level
No, immediately not.
is because there's like no way to make money with a philosophy degree except for teaching people philosophy.
Yeah, fair.
That's it. Like they just invent stuff like this.
So you think it's
It
self-indulgent
was
in a lot of ways?
probably a philosopher who first tied the man to the tracks to essentially keep him in a job, I think. Like I think a lot of it is just as I like to call it. Well, people are just sort of arguing for the sake of arguing. Philosophical mass debating, you might want to call it.
Yeah.
And it is essentially just this self-indulgent like thinking, and a lot of the time it's kind of useless. Like there's this whole video I think of someone like on a plane, and they're like, I don't know, they're choking or they're having some medical issue, and they're like, is there a doctor on board? And a guy gets up and he's like, yeah, I'm a doctor of philosophy. And he sort of walks over and they're like, what should we do? And he's like, well, according to utilitarianism, we should use the resources for this. But deontology says that we can't take the property without the. And the guy just dies.
Yeah.
Because like on a real level, like this doesn't make a difference to a lot of people in terms of the way they actually live their lives. Right?
In the immediate moment.
Yeah, it's just a point for a lot of people. It's just a point of like you're already living how you're living. You already think what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Right.
You're not going to change that. We're just trying to work out like as a point of interest, what's the like foundation for that. But philosophy goes in two ways. It either digs downwards, which is what we do when we try to figure out what good means, and we do these experiments, and it's like, well, let's dig downwards and see what's like in there. What's at the basis?
Yeah.
But there is the philosophy that works upwards too. It's like, well, what should we do? That's the constructive stuff. That's like, well, here's what I think is good, and here's how it should change your life.
But it's not always constructive, because as you said, sometimes it's self-indulgent. And
That's
at the university
when
level.
I get frustrated is when it gets, and I understand the reason for it, but when it gets, well, how do you define this? How do you define that? It's like, I think we all have a fairly standard definition of empathy or whatever the word is. Then it feels less productive to me.
Yeah, and you just sort of sat around like arguing about trolleys on tracks for no reason. But it is useful to work out, to do the other thing, to go the other way and work out what you think, to then build up.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis said that the purpose of philosophy is not to cut down forests, but to irrigate deserts. We're supposed to be actually building something up. That's why I like doing the trolley problem memes, because they help people work out what they actually think. And then you've got some more clarity on that. So then go and take that and build a philosophy out of it, You've got to actually use it to then go and do something.
So let's do one. What's an example?
All right, guys, we got to take a break real quick because we got to talk about this fantastic caffeine sponsor that we have. Hey, look, you guys know this. Andrew is filming a movie. We've had to do a lot of work on Flagrant to make sure that we don't fall behind while he's filming. You know how we stayed caffeinated? Black Rifle Coffee. That's right. America First Coffee. Much like the Democratic Socialists of America. Hey, did you guys notice that once Zoran won, I suddenly started being allowed to do the Black Rifle reads? I noticed because they know America's caffeine matters. Black Rifle is America First caffeine. This energy drink right here, which they always hand me, Jamil made it a point to hand me this one again, Project Mango. Again, that does feel a little racial, but either way, it's fantastic. 200 milligrams of caffeine to get you through your day and be America first. You want to deport a couple of illegals? Maybe some green card holders who are saying things about the government of Israel that you don't like? You could have the energy to do that. I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying you would have the energy to do that if you were black rifled up. Black Rifle Coffee, Black Rifle energy drinks. They got the best premium coffee sourced from award-winning farms, then roasted right here in America. America first roasting. But you don't want to get the beans from America because that would be dog shit coffee. So you get the beans from the brown people, then you bring it over and you roast it here. These guys are military vets. I met TJ, the guy who started this company. That motherfucker is as American as it gets. Can I tell you a story about TJ? He had a gun and a silencer. I said, hey man, how much does that silencer really silence the gun? He goes, let's find out. And then shot 3 bullets. Tell me that's not Black Rifle energy right there. And if you go to blackrifle.com and use the code FLAGRANT, you can get 30% off today. And they want me to say this, America, your energy. I frankly think that shit sounds goofy, but it tells you where their heart is. It's in America. Hey there, Noodle Dick. I'm talking to you. And I'm looking at me. Because I know both of us are dick game subpar. Honestly, you think I'd work this hard if I was good at fucking? No, I wouldn't. I'm not good at it. You're not good at it. It's good to own your weaknesses. I've learned that in therapy on a product that I will name later. But the point is, you need Blue Chew for this specific problem. It can address your weak dick needs. Blue Chew. That's all you gotta do. Blue Chew, same active ingredients as in those other drugs, but this is the one we rock with because it works and they have been with us since the beginning. I have literally, I swear to God, had people come up to me at shows and be like, yo, I'm with this girl, I chew her the fuck out. They say that to me. It's a little weird, but they say it and it works. And if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. And the same beautiful offer as always stands. Your first month is free. All you got to do is pay $5 for shipping. You go to bluechew.com and use the code FLAGRANT at checkout and you get your first order for free. You just got to pay $5 for shipping. Also, go to the website, check out the details, safety information, etc. But if you check out there and you want to step your dick game up, which should be every guy out there, bluechew.com, promo code FLAGRANT. Get your first order for free. Just pay $5 for shipping. Let's get back to the show.
Okay, so the classic trolley problem is that a trolley is running down a track and there are 5 people either tied to the track or they're workers and they don't know the trolley.
What race?
Jewish.
Run them over. No. Go. 5 people are tied to the track.
And
Okay.
you've got one on the other side.
Yes.
Or one on another track.
Because the track splits, I presume.
Very clever.
Gotcha. Thank you. Good at this.
And they've got a lever that you can, it's kind of
Yes.
next to you, and you can pull the lever. And if you pull the lever, 5 people are saved, and the trolley runs over 1 person.
Yeah.
And the question is simply, would you pull the lever? I don't know. Would you pull the lever?
I don't think you pull it.
No?
I don't think so.
Why
Because
not?
now you're responsible for death.
Yeah, because then you are letting 5 people die rather than making 1 person die. And I think letting versus actively doing changes it.
Can we ask
I pull the
questions?
lever.
Okay, go. What about you, Al?
I don't pull the lever. Same reason.
Are we allowed to ask questions about the people, or does that destroy the whole?
Well,
you
the thing
can.
is,
Like age, for example, might be
in
important.
this circumstance, you don't know, right? Or you assume that they're all like 25. But
Got it. They're of equal
what you
ages.
can then do once
Yeah.
you work out whether you pull the lever or not is then start changing these variables.
Okay. Give me the toughest
You pull
variable.
the lever?
That really helps.
lever?
Yeah. Would you pull the lever?
No.
Why
Wait,
not?
what is it? It's going to hit 5
Gonna
and
hit
then it
5,
could hit
and if
1?
you pull it,
If you
it'll hit
don't pull the
1.
lever, it hits 5. If you pull the lever, it hits 1, but you pull the lever.
Will they all follow me on Instagram? Yeah, I don't think that I could be responsible for it.
Okay, so then here's the thing, right? So one way you could adapt this is say, because at least the 3 of you think that you wouldn't pull the lever. What if it was 100 people on that track? What if it was 1,000 people on that track?
Yeah, eventually you get to
What
the
if it's
number.
like a city? Or what if it was like your own mother? You know, like surely there is some circumstance in which you would kind of be okay with pulling the lever,
I feel this way about abortion.
right?
Like, 1 or 2 or 4 is fine, but like 1,000,
Yeah, what would
you got to pull the lever on that girl, right?
Like if 1 person had 1,000 abortions.
yeah, like eventually there's a lever where you're like, all right, sew it up or something.
yeah, yeah. But okay. so
I joke, I'm being hyperbolic, but at
but-
the same time, you're like, wait, what is going on
you
here?
can work
that
this out. Like
yeah.
you can figure out what you think about abortion. So take a like a 1-year-old child and take like 1,000 fertilized zygotes and put them on the other side of the track and ask what someone would do. Which would they run over?
Child.
And I think it's well, like some people actually would say that, And that's fine.
Yeah, because
that's your
that's
view,
what they
but it
believe
helps you
life
to work out
begins,
what you actually believe. Because a lot of people will look at that and be like, if I'm being honest with myself, what I would probably do is I would probably run over those zygotes. You can't even see them. They're like dust on the floor, right? And that's probably what I would do. So you adapt it in such a way as to, and you can apply it to specific
And that
examples
doesn't
to
mean
help
that you
figure it
don't
out.
think it's wrong. Those people
No,
might think it's really wrong, but
it
in
just
this
helps you
moment,
figure out what's so here what we've just pulled out is the difference between doing and allowing, which is like a really important ethical distinction. Is there a difference between doing and allowing? And it doesn't mean that allowing people to die is always right. It just means that it's less bad than proactively killing people, right? So then, okay, so take an example where one of my favorites is the trolley's going down a track and there's one person tied up, and there's another track where there's also just one person tied up. But you think you'll really get a kick out of killing someone. You think it's going to be like great fun. Is it wrong to pull the lever?
Yes.
yeah,
Why?
because wanting to kill people for fun is bad.
Why?
I assume this is an impulse that once you break that seal, it's quite possible you break
But
it again.
suppose we just know that this person like is a perfectly well integrated member of society who recognizes that this kind of like kick they get out of the thought of killing someone is totally immoral and they'd never act in accordance with it. But look, I've got this opportunity
So this is, to me, doing is worse than allowing.
to enact upon
What's interesting with the first one,
This is Dexter.
and be like guilt
Are you
free.
familiar with the show?
I haven't seen it.
He's a serial killer that like finds a way to kill just
Oh,
bad
cool.
people.
Yeah. Right. So
But this is the trolley problem,
It's not even
essentially.
that they're bad people. It's not like, oh, they deserve this. It's literally like
Somebody's got to die.
Somebody's got to die here.
I get to scratch my itch.
Exactly. And here's an interesting consideration:
Yeah.
is that have you ever heard of utilitarianism?
yeah,
So the
the
view that-
greatest good for the greatest number of people, right?
And that's usually cashed out in terms of maximizing pleasure or minimizing suffering.
Pain, yeah.
Right. This is what morality is about. That's what it is for the utilitarian. And pleasure is defined very broadly there. It doesn't just mean
Yeah,
like,
okay.
It doesn't just,
It's not a brothel.
yeah, exactly. It's like anything which is well-being. Exactly.
how I
right.
would-
food, shelter.
And so here's the thing, right? If you're a utilitarian, then suppose it's not you. Suppose it's someone else who's going to pull that lever, and you know for a fact that they will get some pleasure out of pulling that lever and killing that person. It might not just be that it's permissible for them to pull the lever. If you're a utilitarian, it might be a duty. They might have to, because that will maximize pleasure. Same number of people die, except one extra person is now going to get an equal pleasure. You actually got an obligation to
So if we have these people, let's say we have these serial killers, right?
Yeah.
And we are utilitarian in our philosophy.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I think you know where I'm going with this. Like, do we make them be the people that flip the switch for the electric chair?
There you go, man. Yeah. Like,
Right?
right, exactly.
We can give them jobs. There
Exactly.
are- And is that what abortion doctors are? No. Now we're getting too crazy. But I do.
We'll be right back.
I do. No. I'm teasing, obviously. But like, I do think these ethical dilemmas present themselves in it's like even vaccinating your kid, right? And again, I'm not going to talk about like whether vaccines work or don't work or plus or negative for society. But like the fear as a parent when you have a brand newborn baby you love more than anything, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And like you watch one video where you're like, this could cause harm to your
It makes
kid.
sense to be terrified, yeah.
Because now you have the lever, right? You go, do I want to be the person who takes responsibility for causing the harm?
Oh, shit.
Or do I not pull it and then, God forbid, they get measles or mumps or whatever that shit is? And now...
It's not my fault. So, but this is the thing, like
is that parents trying to not be the responsible
Exactly. But a lot of people look at that. A lot of people look at that and they say, but that's bad parenting. And if that's bad parenting, then maybe there's something more going on. It's not just as simple as like, well, doing is bad, but allowing is kind of fine. It's like, no, there's something more complicated going on.
So how would you handle that? Like, what are all the different ways to think about that
I think
scenario?
something important there is like the probability, because there's no certainty involved. The trolley problem, you have certainty.
Right.
And so you need a version where you're uncertain. So say, for example, there is a track that's got one person on it, and there's another track that's got a big sort of box that you can't see, and it's got a 99% chance of having nobody in it, but a 1% chance of having 100 people in it.
Oof.
So same expected value, right? Exactly the same expected value. Because you've got a 1% chance of 100, expected value is 1.
Yep.
You've got a 100% chance of 1, expected value is 1.
Yeah.
So would you take that chance?
I might be inclined to pull it.
I would probably pull it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
what does that tap into? There's got to be
Well,
some
that tells
sort
us
of positive
that
thinking.
if most people say that they would pull the lever, it tells us that expected value doesn't actually work properly. Because you should, if you're being rational, you should
Yeah.
say, well, I have no preference whatsoever.
I bet a poker
But
player
you
would
do
be like,
have
I
a
don't know what to do. But the rest of us who aren't doing these calculations, maybe it'd be more difficult.
But I think what it shows is that expected value is a bad way of thinking about stuff. So, because this is how you work something out. If you've got a gamble, like you sort of do the expected value and work out which is higher. But that's not actually how people think. You know the game Deal or No Deal?
Yeah.
My friend Phil Halper pointed this out to me, that like if you're playing Deal or No Deal, and you've got a box. So say one of the boxes is like 0, and one of the boxes is like $500,000, right?
This is good.
If you're then offered $150,000,
Yeah.
like, are you taking that?
Fuck no. Give me that $500,000.
But the thing is, it probably depends on who you are, right? If you've got a lot of money and that's not life changing to you, you're going to think, oh, expected value. So I've got like.
And if you have nothing, you're taking that
But if
150.
you
I'd take it.
absolutely
You're right.
perfectly
So
rational to take 100.
I have a different answer than all these guys on everything. It's crazy.
Even though expected value says that you should obviously like take the risk for the $500,000 because the expected value is $250,000.
Yep.
And you've only been offered $150,000.
Wait, can I selfishly, because I'm the only person that answered the trolley thing that way, I don't look at it as doing and letting. I guess I look at it as doing, but I'd be saving 5 people. That's the way my brain goes.
Oh,
So
that's
it's like,
your do. Your do
my
is...
doing is I'm saving 5 people, and one person had to die for me to save 5 people. And I think if I was that one person on the track, I think I would understand. I wouldn't be like, hey, let him go. I'm not some fucking saint.
But what about the fat man variation?
That's
real quick before the fat man, just on that, like I think there are these.
Hey, that's no way to speak about your friend. I'm just trying to get
these. I forget the type of like hedge fund it is, but essentially what they do is they buy up businesses, they restructure them, they lay off 10,000 people, but there's still 40,000 people that work there.
Yeah.
And I think Mitt Romney was one of the guys who owned Bain Capital, and this is one of the things they did. And he was like a devout religious dude. I think he was Mormon.
Yeah, he's Mormon.
He was Mormon, but
Yeah.
and I think someone asked him is like, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you handle the fact that you're like letting 10,000 people go? And his answer was, Akash's answer is like, I saved 40,000 people's jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's literally just a case of how you think about it.
Yeah, and I don't know if what he's done is immoral at all. I think if you're focusing on those 10,000, but he pulled a lever to save
But man,
40,000.
in my view, it depends how you feel. Like
How do you feel like outside of like the thought experiment? Like what is your, what did you say, like basic instinct?
Yeah.
What is yours in these
about what?
situations?
About like the lever?
Yeah.
Like I think pulling the lever feels right. Right? It feels like that's a good thing to do.
Just to save more people.
Save the 5 to kill 1, but like it's uncertain, right? And the point is it's supposed to be difficult. But the real utility in the trolley problem is whatever you say, you then adapt it. So you said you wouldn't pull the lever because, you don't want to kill someone versus 5. And then you just up the ante and make it 100,000 people. And suddenly I didn't actually ask, would you pull the lever then if it were 100,000 people?
I would pull the lever then.
It's like the whole city of New York, So at least in your case, it does change the scenario.
Yeah.
You said that you would pull the lever, you would kill 1 person to save 5 because you're saving 5 even though you have to kill 1. So, as you point out, a famous sort of next variation of this is like the trolley is going towards 5 people, you're stood on a bridge, and there's a fat man on the bridge, and if you push the fat man off the bridge, he'll crash into the train and the train will stop and he'll kill the fat man, but it will stop it from running over the 5 people who are tied to the track. Would you push that fat man off the bridge? You would.
Yeah.
So no, good. That means you seem to be thinking very rationally about this.
I'm consistent.
You would actually push a fat guy.
I don't know if I'm strong enough because I can't really lift much weights, but yes.
I don't get the physics. If you push him off the bridge.
Yeah, because the train's going under the bridge.
Oh, the train's going under the
He's-
bridge.
yeah.
Got it. I'm like, I thought the train's going over the bridge.
there's no.
I need diagrams for
I
this.
thought the train was
Yes.
going over the bridge.
I thought the train is like, one of the Western movies where the people are running. You never seen Stand By Me?
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I've seen it.
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, one of the guys is fat. I'm like, okay,
That's
he's
not
going
why
to
I'm
stop the
looking at you
train.
blankly.
I'm still
Yeah.
saving 5 people. It's the same thing.
So
But you would kill someone you're with that's completely
Pulling the
innocent.
lever is killing. So I've made that decision. Now I'm just shoving instead of pulling the lever.
you would just shove this guy off the bridge.
I mean, again, I'm not strong, but I would try.
But he's on the edge. It's your friend, and he's looking at. He's like, "Oh my God, these people are gonna die."
My friend is
friend is
different.
different.
Friend is
No,
different.
no,
Why?
Because then
A
I am
random fat
inconsistent.
guy.
No, then I am inconsistent. If my mom is on the bridge or 5 strangers, I'm not pulling the lever. I'm not shoving my mom. That is now if it's my dad, heave ho. But yeah, that's my inconsistency will stop at my wife, my kids, my mom, my best friends, sure. But in general, if I'm saving 5 people and they're all strangers, I'm saving 5 people.
Yeah.
And I'm not utilitarianism to the absolute. That's crazy at a certain point. But like I do largely have that idea. Like it's saving more people. What are we doing?
Yeah, so it's something funny. They put people in an MRI scanner and asked them about the trolley problem. And the people who said that they would pull the lever, but they wouldn't push the fat man, which is most people, by the way, I think.
That's weird.
People who would pull the lever but wouldn't push the fat man, in the MRI scanner, the part of their brain that like deals with emotion was lighting up. Whereas the people who said that they would pull the lever and push the fat man, the part of their brain that deals with like rational thinking,
That's me.
was lighting up.
To me,
And
it's just pure logic.
It was an indication that a lot of people just think emotively about this and don't realize. They think that they're considering an ethical consideration, but really they're just like feeling it out. And so it's interesting. So people like you seem to be thinking like rationally about it, and you're trying to sort of put it in like very sort of non-emotive terms. But then you said like you'd be inconsistent when it comes to like your family.
Correct.
And the question is like, why? Or is it inconsistent? Or do you just have an ethical worldview which says that it's okay to prioritize your own family?
I have a love for those people that's overwhelming to the point that ethics is not a concern of mine. Morality is not a
But
concern
maybe that's
of
just
mine.
what ethics is. Maybe ethics is about like love. And maybe ethics just permits you to care more about your family.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
But again, this is where I'm not saying it's to dismiss what you do. This is where my brain jumps to like, well, yeah, whatever it is, I'm fine with it. I understand there's inconsistency, and I'm okay with that level of inconsistency.
And that's another thing when I was saying about like the philosophical masturbating, most people, they have their ideas, but like if you're like, oh, I think torture is always wrong, and I think that, you know, we should minimize suffering and harvest organs in this circumstance. But if someone like holds a gun to your daughter's head, that just goes out the window.
Yeah.
Like nobody is nobody except maybe like Peter Singer. He's probably the kind of person that would actually sit there and like do a calculation on his little sheet of paper. But nobody's thinking in this way. You know, that's not how.
Have you
it's
read
actually
that
done.
Jonathan Haidt book, The Righteous Mind?
I haven't actually read it.
You're familiar with
But
the
yeah,
idea
yeah.
that we're like emotional beings and they retrofit this logic afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's probably what we're getting to about all this. But maybe his emotion is to protect as many people as possible, and our emotion is more selfish.
Yeah.
Like maybe you have more altruistic emotions.
It just
Like you're
feels
like,
like the logic-
everybody's a stranger. I'll protect those 5 strangers over that one, and the rest of us are like, I don't want to be a killer.
The guilt of letting 5 people die to me would be overwhelming.
Okay, so if say there's a track. This time the track is like a circle, and there's a person tied on that end, and you're stood here with the lever, and the trolley's going around, and the lever only changes the direction of the trolley, so you can just sort of make it go back and forth. Mm-hmm. How many times do you pull that lever before you let it run over the guy?
Oh, I would like to think in a vacuum, infinite. But if everybody in the train is saying X, Y, Z to me, who knows? At a certain point,
No one
your
on the
brain
train. Like,
lays
you're
down.
just stood there, like, and you're pulling this lever back and forth. I mean, the guy's gonna die. He's just tied to a track. He's just gonna die anyway.
I wait for him to die, and then I go. Once he dies of starvation,
So you would stand there for like a week.
yeah.
Like staying awake, pulling that
Doing
lever
my
back and
best,
forth.
yeah. Doing my
To watch
absolute
him. To
best.
watch
if
him.
my body gives out, my body gives out.
To watch him slowly die.
You got to do a little
starvation.
bit. You got to do it at least 5-10 times. You can't just let it go and then explain to
You're
him
gonna
why.
run over
Why
him
not?
5 times?
This is what you would do. No,
Why not, man?
No, you would go back and forth, right?
I actually understand your logic.
I don't
now
know.
that you're saying
I don't know because like
it's euthanasia basically.
Because this
do you
guy's
allow
just,
this guy? Do you just
this
take
guy's
this guy out of his
absolutely
misery?
terrified.
Oh, he's gonna die no matter
yeah,
what.
I guess.
He's
Yeah,
gonna die no
then
matter what.
Maybe
Like-
the ethical thing is just letting him.
Like how long are you gonna?
I think
pull
you
that
got to
lever?
start explaining that to him.
However
Like, yo,
long
you're
it took
dying
me
no
to
matter
realize
what.
that. That's how many times I've pulled the
You
lever.
just said that you want to watch him like starve to death, which is
Yeah.
like a horrible. I'd rather be hit
That's
by a
true.
train.
He
than
didn't say
starve
he wants to
death.
watch him starve to death.
Well,
I'd
that's what
rather
you would
do
do.
That would happen.
Yeah, that's
but
what-
that's not what he wants.
That is what you
But,
would
yeah,
want to do in that circumstance.
He
if
wants
I-
to not be responsible for his death. Him starving.
then don't pull the lever at all. Because, like, remember a moment ago we were talking about
because
the thing
not
is,
pulling the lever
this
at
is the
all.
thing. Like,
yeah,
a
yeah,
moment
yeah.
ago you said that, well, if I pull the lever, then I'm involving myself. It's like, well, then don't touch the lever.
Who
and then
invented
just
this
run away.
lever thing? This is great. What did you
This
guys do
was
before
Judith
trains?
Jarvis Thompson, yeah.
But before trains, what did you have to talk about?
Atlantis and shit.
yeah.
Pedophilia.
The fucking
Any kids.
what is it? The
They're running
green
trains on
tablets of
chil-
oath or
Yeah,
something.
they're running trains on children. That's what
I mean, the
Not all
invention.
philosophers.
But the invention of the train really changed your guys' whole life.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, what would you talk about before? You're like, should we be communists?
People
More
had-
people need to eat.
people
People are hungry.
people would
And
debate
then the fucking train was invented. You're like, yeah, this is good.
people would debate weird and wacky stuff. Like famously Plato defined a human being as a featherless biped. That was his
Yeah.
definition of what a human being
Sure.
is. And then I think it was
Featherless, what? I missed it.
biped.
Walk on 2.
So an animal
you
that's
know
got
what I
2 feet and doesn't have any feathers. So then I think it was Diogenes who like took a chicken and plucked all of its feathers and like ran into the room where Plato was teaching and held it up and went, "Behold, Plato's
human."
man." You know.
Yeah.
And so they would just debate shit like that all the time, and it was just essentially definitional.
And why was
like,
this supported? Like, who was funding this back in the day? Are you
education? I suppose used to be just a privilege of people who could afford it.
But
but this could be a job. Like back in the day, there were people that were just waxing poetic on philosophy, and the king was like, yeah, keep doing that shit.
I don't know about like back in ancient times. I don't really know how they were making their money.
You'd have students as well, wouldn't they? Pay?
But yeah, they'd have like students. But then I think some philosophers would probably have students that didn't pay. They just like had a school of people, a Jesus of Nazareth style.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you'd have students. I mean, famously, Aristotle tutored Alexander the Great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there are some pretty high clientele that want some philosophical wisdom, and so they're probably making money through that.
Do we have another thought experiment?
There are endless,
or even a hot take?
How were they viewed societally, real quick? Like, how would Aristotle be viewed societally at the time?
It depends on what kind of philosopher they were. Like Socrates was a nuisance. People didn't like him.
Yeah. Is there some revisionist history on these people as we look back?
How do you mean?
Like, do we look at them as almost deities, right?
I mean, yeah,
they're like
Socrates was
brilliant,
killed,
they're
put to
genius.
death.
Oh yeah, like but yeah, at the time,
what-
like,
were they-
a lot of these philosophers, if you like read their biographies, they're like depressed, miserable people who couldn't get laid. Like it's so seriously.
It's like Van Gogh.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same kind of thing where like you wouldn't want to be these guys. Like, why do you think like Immanuel Kant had the time to like sit around writing like the longest treatise on like on like objective ethics that the world's ever seen? Because he's a loser, you know. There's nothing else going on. Like seriously, you know. Like what are you gonna do? Like Arthur Schopenhauer wrote an essay about women.
Okay.
Where he just like talks about how women are just inferior to men. And he just goes on and on and on about
tell me this guy's name again?
yeah. And you read it and you're sort of like this sort of hyper rational guy, and you're like, but this is clearly just because like
He can't get laid.
you can't get. Apparently, he was like a bit of a womanizer, but I think he might have like had some trouble. Like people like rejected his proposals and stuff. And so actually, I was speaking to a friend earlier who said that any idea that anybody has, anytime like say like a policy is come up with by a politician or anything of that sort, they should have to undergo like a psychological analysis to find out how much of that is due to the fact that their like dad didn't care about them as a kid or something. Like you've got to make sure that there's none of that going on.
Don't they just with detectives? They're like, you're too close to this case. You knew one of the people that were hurt. You're going to be too emotional. We take you off of it.
Yeah,
this is what they would hope.
But
that
we
they
should
would.
probably do that with like politicians too. It's like, you know, you should.
I think, yeah.
You shouldn't essentially just be using your rage to write about this kind of stuff. And I think that's clearly what's happening with Schopenhauer writing about women, for example.
How many other philosophers do you think this is happening to? Like, are there people that you're reading? You're like, oh, you actually have some deep issues that you are emotionally reacting to, and then just retrofitting your brilliance onto it.
That might be true of most philosophers. I mean, most people have motivations that aren't always immediately obvious. Like,
I've heard this about Charles Darwin,
what about him?
that his brother died of some type of like a malignant cancer or something to that effect, and he was told that he was going to go to hell, and so he took it upon himself to scientifically prove that God doesn't exist or something
I think
like that.
Darwin's child died.
Maybe that's what it is.
Darwin's, I think his youngest child might have died, and it does seem to sort of have an effect. I'm not sure if that like motivates like the biology of the origin of species, but it will motivate his like religious views. Darwin actually, interestingly, at the end of The Origin of Species, there's a beautiful little epilogue where he says there is grandeur in this view of life. It's a famous piece where he talks about from so humble and simpler beginnings, endless life, and endless forms, most beautiful, have been and are being evolved. And that's how it ends. It's this beautiful thing. And he talks about how life having originally been breathed into a few forms or into one. And there was such a backlash from the religious that in the second edition of The Origin of Species, there is an edition that's breathed by the creator into few forms or into one. Because he felt the need to add in this reference to God, and it's probably due to the backlash, but it may also just reflect his own like flip-flopping on religion. Because by the third edition, it was gone again. And this happens quite a lot, like people like defacing their books. Like Peter Singer recently did this for Animal Liberation, the father of the animal rights movement, who wrote in 1975 the greatest defense of animal ethics that has probably ever been written. I mean, it's just phenomenal and very confronting. And he was using all of these arguments that in the most recent updated edition, he felt the need to take out because they were like not politically correct anymore. Even though they were really useful philosophical arguments, he took them out. So for example, when he talks about giving animals rights, a lot of people say, well, we can't give animals the same rights as humans. You know, we're not going to give them the right to vote and stuff like that. And Peter Singer is like, well, to give people equal consideration doesn't mean you literally give them the same rights. For example, you wouldn't give men abortion rights And that's not an inequality thing. You give them the same consideration, but it doesn't mean you give them literally the same rights. It just means that you give them the same consideration. So you wouldn't give men abortion rights, you wouldn't give animals voting rights, but you give them the same consideration.
Can special needs people vote?
They literally can, yeah.
They are allowed to vote.
Oh, I mean, I assume so. I don't know if there are some.
Is that a crazy thing to ask? Like,
no, but
No, I'm like-
it's not. But
I'm asking based on the same, it's the same hypothetical. Like if we deem an adult 18 years old and they have the mental capacity of an 18-year-old and I guess we don't do that with IQ. There's
that's
no
the thing.
relaxation.
voting's not mental capacity.
It's totally arbitrary because like voting is like the justification for voting is always like, well, like it will lead to a better society and people, but really people feel like they have a right to vote. It's not so voting isn't supposed to be like, this is obviously the best way to always get to the right answer. It's like, no, it's a point of principle that if you're going to tax me, I have a say.
And
even if
they
that
get
leads
taxed.
to
And if they have the wherewithal to register to vote, then
Then they should be able to
But it is
execute
completely arbitrary. Like the age limit on voting is completely arbitrary.
I feel it's way too loose. We let too many people vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that way, man. Like, and Aristotle thought the same. John Stuart Mill thought that different people should have different like numbers of votes. So like people who had a university education should get more votes than someone who didn't, and stuff like this.
All right, guys, let's take a break for a second. If you're looking for an easy way to take care of your mental, physical, and emotional wellness, make cornbread hemp CBD gummies a piece of your wellness plan. Obviously, you've tried CBD. If you haven't, you know the positive effects that come with it. And cornbread hemp CBD gummies are made to help you feel better with it, whether you're dealing with some stress, some discomfort, or you just need a little bit of relaxation. They only use the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD, formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. Pop one before you go to bed, get a nice sleep, have a great next day. All products are third-party lab tested and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. Can't tell you how crucial that is. And right now, Flagrant listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/flagrant and use the code flagrant at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/flagrant and use the code flagrant at checkout. Now let's get back to the show.
Voting systems are never perfect because people have an idea that you just sort of vote and whoever gets the most votes wins, and that's what democracy is. But it's never quite like that. I mean, like in the United Kingdom, there's a big debate over whether we should keep our so-called first past the post system of voting.
What does that mean?
It means that if you get like a majority of votes, if you sort of, it's the first person to reach a certain number of votes. That's why they call it first past the post. First person to get that wins, right? And so if you've got like 5 different parties and say like 50% of people like vote for one of those parties, they're going to like win the election, but the rest of the voter base is spread across all these different parties, and so they all just like lose, and there's no like proportional representation of the different amount of votes the different parties got. It's just like if you get the most, then you win. And because people often like split their votes from different parties, like if you don't want to vote for the Conservative Party, maybe you'd vote for Labour, or maybe you'd vote for Green, or maybe you'd vote for this. Like you end up sometimes with a party winning who most people actually didn't vote for. And had they done it in stages where you sort of knock out the lowest contender and then vote again, they wouldn't have won the election because all the people who voted Green, now they're out, would have gone and voted Labour, so Labour would have won the election.
But what's the cost of that?
Well, the cost of that, so people say we should, so you get the smaller parties in the UK saying we should have proportional representation because you have like millions and millions of votes, but you get like no seats or 2 seats in the House of Commons. And so they say we should have it proportional. The problem with that is that nothing gets done. Because you just got like 15 different parties, all with different ideas, and absolutely nothing gets done. But if your view is like, well, okay, sure, it'd be more democratic to have more parties in government, but nothing actually gets done.
But it's not functional.
Why bother with the democracy thing at all?
So this
You
is
know?
we have 2 parties,
Like,
nothing gets done.
is there like a principle in philosophy where you just reach a limit where you go, we got to get shit done, so you stop before you extrapolate it to the end of the trolley problem?
Yeah, it's called authoritarianism.
No. I'm not saying in government. I'm just saying like in philosophy, like do you get to a point where you're like, okay, we all kind of agree on this. Yes, there are some holes in it, but this is 70% or this is 80% that everybody kinds of agree on. Let's just use this as a model for society, but we can have these thought experiments outside of
you
that.
could be like a pragmatist.
Is that what that's called?
In utilitarianism, there's a particular sort of version of this called rule utilitarianism. So utilitarianism says that any action you should basically do a calculus and figure out whether it's going to have more or less suffering and pleasure for people. But the problem is that doing that every time is itself not maximizing pleasure, right?
So now you're not. Yeah.
And
So
so
you're not being
you're
utilitarian.
yeah, like being
Your efforts-
utilitarian is not utilitarian. So you sort of undermine yourself. So they come up with this thing called rule utilitarianism, which broadly is attributed to John Stuart Mill. And he's like, look, okay, we'll come up with these rules. Like, broadly speaking, murdering people minimizes pleasure, and sure, there will be circumstances where it doesn't, but like for the sake of being practical, we'll just call that a rule and we'll abide by that. And so it's still justified by the minimization of suffering, but in practice we'll just follow these broad rules.
Yeah.
And that sounds really great, right? Until you realize that sometimes there will be obvious counterexamples. Like, if you don't murder this person, New York City is going to get like decimated. You might still think you shouldn't murder the person, but the utilitarian definitely thinks you should kill that person to save New York City, right?
Right.
And so there are obvious cases where they would go, okay,
I'd let New York go. That's one city.
Actually, yeah. Maybe we should change it up.
I hear this is like the bombing the Yemeni wedding.
Yeah,
Right. There's
whatever.
one
So-
terrorist in the Yemeni wedding.
and-
They're like,
and-
do we bomb it and then we save America from a possible terror attack?
And if the circumstance is obvious enough, then even the rule utilitarian has to look at it and be like, yeah, okay, in this case, I'll break my rule. But then you've got this problem of like, in every circumstance, you've then got to figure out whether it's an obvious enough example to apply the rule or not. And then you're just back to just looking at every single individual circumstance. So,
Would like Luigi Mangione kind of be an example of that or not?
yeah, so I mean, you might kind of think that generally speaking, it's bad to murder people, but people are like, oh, but in this case, it's like an exception. Like maybe some people would think that.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like the cultural response.
But what
The
you
cultural response is we got more pleasure. Not we, but people got more pleasure. And because they got more pleasure, does it justify the murder?
why did they get pleasure out of it?
Because they think these healthcare companies are evil and all the people involved are complicit.
And I think if you do it enough,
but-
maybe they'll
But
fix their shit.
specifically, evil why? Like, what is it that they're doing?
They're undermining pleasure for the most people.
Exactly. So it's kind of there's this sort of underlying assumption of a utilitarian principle for these people that like, well, okay, it's bad to kill somebody, but if they're going to cause more people to suffer and die, then
it's
this is a utilitarian
This is
calculus.
a justification for war, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, war is well, at least ostensibly, it'll be like this is what's good. But war tends to have a more sort of like the family thing. It's not just because if you were utilitarian and like a country declares war on you and you're like, what's their population? Is it bigger than ours? Okay, let them have it. Right? That's not what you do. It's more like the family thing. You're like, to hell with that. I'm going to like defend my own
my home.
my own principles. You know?
Okay, so Brexit, for example.
Yeah.
Good. No, this idea that there are people that feel like they're losing their cultural identity, and we don't have to argue whether it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying that idea, if we're taking a utilitarian principle and we're just plastering on top of that, do they feel less pleasure as culture becomes more diverse, and then their specific culture becomes, in their perception, diluted?
For sure, yeah. I mean, that seems to be the motivation behind Brexit. It was essentially an immigration vote, in my view. That's
A lot of people seem to feel
like, yeah, okay, but a lot of people were talking about the economy and sort of they're getting up on their talk shows and they're like, well, you know, like Brexit and the GDP and 4.2. It's like no one cares.
Yeah.
Okay, some people care, but you know what I mean. That's not what it was about.
Yes.
And yeah, like. But the thing is, I mean, I've been talking about utilitarianism. Like, I'm not a utilitarian. Most people aren't utilitarians. They think they are until they come across an example like where they've got to tie their own child to a trap or something, and they're like, to hell with that. And it's like, okay, well, then you're not actually a utilitarian like you thought you were.
Yeah.
Instead, you're something else. And in my view, people are just emoting. I'm what's called an emotivist about ethics. I think that all ethical statements are just expressions of emotion.
I think that's
all
accurate.
I think is going on.
Yes.
And so, in this instance, like, if you were a utilitarian, you could say, well, it's complicated because, yeah, more people get pleasure if they can immigrate into a country, but then the amount of suffering that comes with like losing a sense of identity, that might balance it out. Or you just be like, you're just sort of vibing, man.
Well,
you're just trying to feel it out.
I think that there's an emotional reaction to that too. I mean, they're emotivist. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It makes them feel better to have a technical justification for their emotional response.
Yeah.
And so they're calling it utilitarian, but it's really not that. They're
Exactly,
just like, I'm hurt.
people want to stick a label on there. That's what a lot of philosophy is. It is essentially hyper-rationalizing of your emotive feelings.
Yeah.
That's why you have all of these clever people who agree with each other. It's also why I could say, like, name some of the most famous philosophers in the world, like Nietzsche or Immanuel Kant or John Stuart Mill. And a lot of people get this idea that because they're great philosophers, if I just pick one at random and sit down and start reading it, I'll be like, wow, this guy's amazing. But if you try that, go into a philosophy department, pick up like Jean-Paul Sartre and just read it, and you'll be like, what is this? Because the great philosophers are people who you kind of already know that you're like on the same wavelength as them, and you read it and they just put it into words, and you're like, yeah, man, that's what it is.
Smart.
But that's the feeling of like thinking someone's smart is sort of looking at it and going like, yeah, they put that into, but because they've just rationalized what you're already thinking. Education, I think that the Greek word that comes from, I can't remember what the word actually is, like, edukratos or something like this, means to draw out. Education is not like the so-called bucket theory of the mind, which is like you're just a bucket and a teacher comes and just chucks stuff in there. It's a more like two-way relationship, and to educate someone is to draw out of them because there's something already inside them that you are like pulling out. Education has to be something which, I don't mean like as a moral thing, this is how we should be educating our kids. I mean, this is literally what happens in many people's view. It's like a two-way relationship. You have to, the person who's learning has to sort of take a guess at the world and then like test ideas against the guess that they're making, and then the teacher sort of helps them with that. So it's a drawing out, That's what philosophers do. So you're reading a text, and it's not just like you're getting information. Somebody is systematizing the way that you feel. Like when you read Schopenhauer's essay about women, you'll probably have this experience of thinking like, that's
he gets it.
He gets it. Yeah.
This fucking guy. Yeah.
But on a serious level, like if you read that essay, you like most people read that and they're sort of like, what the hell is he going on about?
You might think he's a maniac.
And it's like, it's so that's a great example to show that like what you're doing is you're bringing if you are like a genuine sexist and you read this, you'll be like, yeah, man, he's so smart. And your assessment of how like intelligent he is
has to do with how much you agree with him.
Will just be basically like how much you sort of already agree with him,
Yeah.
And to what level he sort of resonates with you. Now, sometimes there will be people who come along and change your mind, so you don't already agree with them. You're like, well, that's really smart, that changes my mind. But it's because you've already got some kind of surface level agreement on something, and they've taken that assumption and said, well, that should lead you here rather than there.
Yeah, I wonder if changing your mind has to do with this feeling of like guilt or shame. Like a lot of times, I'm sure you've heard like Shapiro go on and on about like facts don't care about your feelings, whatever. Yeah. We've spoken a lot about like
I think actually feelings don't care about your facts.
We say it all the time. Yeah. They don't care about your facts at the fuck all. So I wonder if sometimes you're presented with facts, and they make you feel this guilt or shame that you believe this thing that was wrong, and now you feel stupid. Now you feel silly. You feel misled. And it's that personal feeling. You're not going, I will follow the facts now. You're like, I don't want to be an idiot. I don't want people to think that I'm an idiot. I've changed my philosophy.
Yeah, I think a lot of thinking is just feeling. Like when you become convinced by something, like for example, what is at the basis of our like epistemology, how we know things? Like I can see a sort of water bottle here, and I think this water bottle exists. That doesn't seem like an emotion. Feels like a rational thing that I believe. It's like something that's true or false, right? But why do I believe that this water bottle exists? Because I can see it. Right? But why do I believe that? Because I can see it, it's really there. Or because I think that my sense data is accurate, and I'm not like a brain in a vat somewhere. It's like, well, why do I think that? But because like if I didn't, I would just be in this skeptical hellhole and I wouldn't know anything. Like, so?
Yeah.
So what? At root, you just have these, what we call intuitions, which is the philosopher's fancy word for like the way you feel, man. It's like, well, I have a very strong intuition that the external world exists. But you just feel that way.
It brings us comfort to trust our senses.
Yes.
Yeah, you just can't help but feel, right?
Have you ever met somebody with schizophrenia?
I don't think so.
It's really interesting because the things that they're seeing or hearing do not exist.
Yeah, right. And
they feel them.
They hold up an important mirror to our own philosophies. It's the same thing with like a lot of people like to talk about how or the person, if someone who was acting rationally would never like indulge in this behavior, like pulling the lever, that's bad, and everyone knows it's bad. It's like, well, psychopaths exist.
Yep.
And they're people who just don't care. Right, and you have to deal with the fact that not everyone's brain works in the same way that yours does. And they're really interesting test cases. I mean, like, people who have some kind of mental disorder can be really interesting, like, philosophically.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of split brain patients? The brain is in two hemispheres. You've got the left and the right brain. Yeah. Ian McGilchrist writes about this in The Master and His Emissary. It's phenomenal. And they are famously responsible for different things. So like the right side of the brain moves your left arm and the left side of your brain moves your right arm, broadly speaking. And this has an effect on behavior. Like the eye that animals choose to like look at their prey will be determined by which hemisphere that they're sort of using. And people who have damage to the left-hand side of their brain will often have uncontrollable movements in their right arm. And likewise with the right and the left arm. But people who have damage in the right brain, and the right brain, broadly speaking, is supposed to be like the creative one.
I thought that's left.
No, the left brain is the
Left
sort
is
of
more like
mathsy,
scientific
autistic
Got it.
kind of brain. So
Oh,
so-
that's why they say the left-handed people tend to be more creative because its right side of
Yeah.
the brain is more developed.
They say that.
Whatever. It
It's
could be
unclear.
bullshit.
It's unclear
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
there's
I
actually
hear what
a
you're saying.
connection there, but that's the kind of thing that
Yeah.
people. That's why they say that, right? And people who have the damage to the right-hand side of their brain, if they have uncontrollable left-hand movements, they tend to be like feeling movements. They'll sort of feel things without being able to control it. Whereas if they've got damage to the left-hand side of the brain, their right hand will grab things. Because the left-hand side of the brain is more numerical and it's more like I guess precise and practical, so it's more grabby, right? And so the two hemispheres are connected by something called the corpus callosum, which is the connective tissue. And the tissue actually seems to do more to inhibit communication between them than to facilitate it, as if there's some evolutionary benefit to kind of having two brains.
separately.
But some people have what's called a corpus callosotomy, which is where they sever the connection. This used to be a treatment for extreme cases of epilepsy. It was one of the only ways you could treat it. And in these patients, there is this strange phenomenon, which has been observed, called alien hand syndrome. It was first reported when a woman in like the 1800s, her left hand just started attacking her, started trying to choke her to death.
Whoa.
And she had to fight off her hand with the rest of her body. And there are people who they'll pour a cup of coffee and then their other hand will just pour it out again. People who will get dressed, they'll put their trousers on and then the other hand will take it off again. And
It's like a Mr. Bean's sketch.
yeah, seriously. And the most common place where this has cropped up is in cases of people who've had a corpus callosotomy. And so it seems to suggest that you might literally have sort of two consciousnesses that are like battling it out constantly. So a lot of our decision making, and this might be where like freedom of the will comes in, is like your brain is sort of battling against itself to figure out which one's going to win out or something.
You're a determinist, right?
I don't believe in free will, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
But the thing that terrifies me is to think like, okay, so say you've got this left hand that's trying to kill you. If there is some kind of consciousness attached to it, that's not the consciousness that's attached to your awareness, your eyes, your mouth, your ears and stuff, because otherwise it would say something. And so if there is a separate consciousness that's somewhere trapped inside you with no mouth, no eyes, no ears, the only way it has to communicate is by like controlling the arm. What if it's like trapped in there trying to tell you something? Maybe that's why it's trying to kill you, because it wants to
Jerking off
it
all the
wants
time.
to
Who knows? Who knows what's in there? You know? I got a gay consciousness inside me. Trying to grab my dick all the time.
Yeah, maybe that's what the choking is about. Yeah. It's terrifying to think though, right?
Is it possible there's not just like a subconscious like feed that's getting put into your muscles that then is giving an electrical impulse?
Yeah, I
to
mean
do something?
that's possible, but it just seems like a strange coincidence, doesn't it? That like when you split the two hemispheres of the brain, you increase the probability of like people's limbs acting of their own accord.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to be connected. We don't know exactly, but people who undergo these experiences are really interesting, like examples of how like our philosophy can just completely shift or change based on the way people behave. I mean, your idea about theory of mind and what mind is and whether it's attached to the brain or whatever can be altered by the existence of split brain patients. Because what if there are two people? Like in the philosophy of mind, a really important question is, it's called personal identity. Like, what makes you the same person you were 5 minutes ago? What is the actual connection? Like, what's going on there? And one important question people ask is like, if I cut your brain in half and I take the two parts of the brain, I put them into new individual bodies and wake them up, like, which one is you? And some people say neither of them, in which case you've just died. That seems a little bit weird. Some people say, well, they're both you. But if they're both you now, then 5 minutes ago they must have both been you as well, but like in one person. So it's like for your whole life you were two people living together. That doesn't seem quite right either. And
Have you seen the show Severance?
no, but I've heard about it. I started watching the first.
You're familiar with the premise of the show?
No, I'm actually not really. So no spoilers. You know?
No, I'm not going to give away. But the idea is that you could sever the brain in a way where when you go to work and you enter this space at work,
You like don't remember or something.
Yeah, you are you essentially, but you have limited knowledge of things in the outside world.
Yeah.
you speak, fluently. I think you have like some words you don't know. You don't understand like what Bermuda is or whatever, but like you are you. You kind of have the similar personality, but you have no connection to who you are in the outside world. So the idea is you could just go to work and then clock out.
Yeah.
And it sounds good on paper. A lot of people have shitty jobs. You're like, I'd like to, for 8 hours, not even think about how horrible my fucking job is, and then you leave. And the show is this interesting experiment because it's like, well, how much autonomy and agency do those people have at work? And then once they find out that there's a life outside of work that might be better and they don't have control of existing outside of it, do they fall in love? And what if that person decides to quit their job? They're dead if they quit their job. And I'm curious on like how much rights you think those people would have. It still is you, but now they're a completely autonomous human being.
The important question to me is whether that is the same person. And that's when you have to ask, what makes you the same person?
I don't want to give away anything from the show, but let's continue asking.
Like what makes you the same person that you were when you were a child? Like again,
it's not collection of memories because your twin might have the exact same experiences.
Yeah, and also you could have false memories. I could take your memories and implant them in someone else, and they wouldn't become you. Right. It can't even be the physical matter that you're made out of, because like the atoms in your body are constantly like replenishing and changing, and after enough time, it's like no physical part of you. So suppose, for example,
that's true.
Right,
like your skin isn't you because your skin replaces itself
exactly,
every 3 years.
So like they say that every 7 years, every atom in your body replaces itself. I don't know if that's actually entirely true.
But let's assume.
But yeah, I mean, because say somehow after 7 years, I took all of the atoms. I managed to find all of the atoms that had been part of you but had floated off or changed, and I put them all together again.
And made another
version of you. Like, which one is you in the sense of being continuous with yourself like 10 minutes ago? I mean, it kind of has to be you now because you've got this continuous.
Sure.
But then this is the same atoms. This is like the same being, and it's actually kind of an impossible question to answer.
Yeah.
Which one is you, and which one would you rather be? So say, for example, that like in 10 years from now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the atoms that make up you right now, the atoms that are in your body right now. I'm going to collect them in a jar, and in 10 years from now, I'm going to reconstruct them next to wherever you are in 10 years, and then I'm going to torture one of them. Which one do you want me to torture? Like, which one do you choose?
That's severance.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, not exactly, but to a certain extent.
Which one would you want?
That motherfucker.
Yeah.
Torture him.
The atoms in a jar?
Yeah.
That's you right now.
I know.
So you make that decision, you lock it in, and then like click my fingers, and suddenly you're like next to your future self, and you're like, wait, I've messed up here.
It wouldn't be my future self because it didn't go through the experiences that I went through, right, which made me who I am now.
You would just suddenly wake up with all the memories you've got now.
You're saying in this...
Because look, all the atoms that make up you right now include your brain, include your memories and stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is
you recreate them at the exact same time and then let them live their own life.
I'm just taking whatever atoms you have in your body right now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to like put them back together again in 10 years. Like exactly.
Yeah, but then they haven't went through what I went through over the 10 years.
That's right. But it will
when I have another thing with this.
The experience will feel as if you're talking to me right now, and
as the exact same person.
Suddenly, click.
Yeah.
You're now 10 years into the future.
Yeah.
Because I'm just taking all of the atoms that you've got right now, as you are right now, and I'm just putting them back together again.
But they would be devoid of the experiences I had over the last decade.
That's right. From the experience of that person that I create, they would remember 5 seconds ago being sat here talking to me.
This is severance, right? To a certain extent.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right?
Yes.
It just feels like you're just suddenly there.
The reason why I would feel more agency is because, hey, I've had these last 10 years of memories, right? So I believe I should have more agency than you. I've lived my life, but...
Yeah.
But, what if you had a debilitating neurological disorder that stripped you of your ability to create new memories? Dementia, Alzheimer's. Now you're not creating new memories. Now you don't have these experiences. So I can't say I have more agency than that body because we have the same amount of new memories.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, say for example, like
I put more work in, bro.
suppose that you. I'm going to like take all of your memories and I'm going to swap it with the guy over there. Let's call him Joe. And tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to have all of Joe's memories. And Joe's going to wake up and he's going to have all of your memories. So you're going to wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up tomorrow and you're literally going to remember being Joe, going to sleep, waking up and being like, what the flip? I've got this game stash. I've got this.
Yeah. You keep talking about my mustache. I'm going to think you're flirting. I am not your brother.
You keep talking.
You do not talk about me like him. Anyway, keep going. So who?
So it's more than just who are you? It's again, because I'm a bit of a sadist here. I'm going to torture one of these guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
After you wake up.
Yeah.
Which one do you want me to torture?
Which one has the bigger dick?
Are you subjectively still now working with your own body and perceptions, but with Joe's memories?
That's right. So you would wake up and like, literally like the physical being that you are, you're gonna wake up and you're just gonna remember being Joe. Likewise, Joe is going to wake up and he's going to remember sat here having this conversation with me. That's what he's going to remember. Because intuitively to me, I'm like, well, I want Joe to be tortured tomorrow.
Right.
Because like I'm still me, and even if I've got all of his memories, I'm still me.
Absolutely.
But there's this weird feeling that, okay, so I say, okay, I'm going to torture Joe. Then tomorrow, Joe wakes up and he remembers last night making the decision that he was going to be tortured. Do you know what I mean? Because he's got all of my memories. So he wakes up and he's like, crap, like I look a lot like Joe now. And last night, what did I do? Oh, I told them to torture Joe, and now I'm Joe. And you'd feel like you'd totally messed up.
But you would remember why you said that, though.
Yeah, but you would probably feel like you wanted to reverse that decision then, wouldn't you?
Afterwards.
You'd be like, hold on.
Yeah, before no, but afterwards, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'd rather experience the remnants of torture than experience torture.
But if you know that you're about to regret a decision, doesn't that tell you the decision's wrong? If you're making a decision and you know for a fact that in 1 day's time you're going to go, damn, I wish I choose the other one.
Have you not been to a bachelor party?
I don't know if you would regret. I don't know if you would regret because you don't have the memory being experienced. Or you don't have the memory of the torture.
Yeah, but from your experience, this is the way it would feel. Is you sat here having this conversation, going, "Let's torture Joe tomorrow," closing your eyes, waking up as Joe, and being like, "Crap, why did I tell him to torture me?"
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
But I think having the memory of the torture is better than
because
having
it's actually Joe that wakes up with your memories. So you wake up with Joe's memories, but the continuity of experience goes from you sat on this chair to waking up as Joe about to be tortured, and you remember. You're like, 5 minutes ago I was Alex, and I told them to torture me. Now, why the hell did I do that? You know, and you probably want to reverse that decision.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a bit of a weird one.
Okay, guys, I'm going to take a break real quick because we got to talk about these. These are fucking fantastic. I probably eat too many. I'm not going to lie to you because they taste delicious. And look, when it comes to supplements, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of fake claims. There's a lot of bullshit stuff going around. But Groons actually took the time to understand proper dosing and ensure that their products are optimized and safe. If you're taking a daily supplement, a multivitamin, a green powder, a prebiotic, it's a lot. This right here combines everything. It's a fraction of the price, and most importantly, it tastes fantastic. I've already had 2 today. I would eat 1 more. Fuck it. Being healthy, guys, has never been convenient or tasted better. You put these in your beach bag, you toss them in your carry-on whenever you travel. They're fantastic. Honestly, they sound like 6 boxes. They're already almost gone. That's all you need to know. If you want a supplement you can enjoy that isn't a chore, this is the one you look forward to. Go to www.groons.co, and get up to 52% off if you use the code FLAGRANT, all right? www.groons.co, up to 52% off if you use the code FLAGRANT. Now let's get back to the show.
All right, guys, let's take a break for a second. You need protein, okay? And it's hard to eat chicken breast every single meal. Trust me, it is boring. So you probably also need a little protein powder, and the most trustworthy pure protein in the game is made by Transparent Labs. It's this thing right here. Their whey protein isolate is sourced from grass-fed cattle, raised humanely and without the use of growth hormones or hormonal agents, and contains absolutely no artificial sweeteners, food dyes, or fillers. I can't tell you how important that is. A lot of you guys are getting these protein powders. You don't even know where they're from. You don't even know if it's actual protein in there. You're getting them from some crazy country. You're ordering it online. You can't trust anything with it. This, the exact opposite. Heavily scrutinized, the best in the business. Every batch of their isolate protein is tested by a third-party lab for purity and potency. And you can find all their test results in the footer of their website. So you know they're not bullshitting you. It's also certified by Informed Choice and Informed Protein to meet the highest standards for athletes and consumers. And once you try and love their protein, which you will, get their other supplements, because every single Transparent Lab supplement features science-backed ingredients in clinically effective doses. So go to transparentlabs.com, use the code FLAGRANT. You're going to get 10% off any purchase. That's transparentlabs.com. Use the code FLAGRANT, supplement smarter, and make the switch to Transparent Labs. Now let's get back to the show. What makes you happy?
This?
Yeah. What makes me happy?
Yeah. What was like the happiest moment you had in the last 12 months?
I enjoy discussing theology with people.
It brings you joy.
I like debates and discussions about philosophy and theology. My happiest moments are spent sort of sparring with somebody in a way that a boxer might spar with an opponent, knowing that they're not really trying to kill each other, but they're essentially doing a kind of sport which does have an undertone of genuine
Have you ever
fitness.
boxed before?
No, only in a.
It's not really enjoyable, dude. Sparring is not enjoyable.
No.
It's scary. It hurts.
So why do it?
Because you want to get better at something. Mm-hmm. And it gives you confidence knowing that like the things you practice, you can actually execute.
Yeah, so that's true of philosophy too.
Yeah. But the act thereof, especially if you're losing, and a lot of times when you're sparring against like better guys, it's costly.
Certainly some boxers like sparring.
Yeah, there must be people who
Floyd,
and it's not. It's
but
not
the guy who's Floyd is fighting is not like this is the best thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah.
It's not like you enjoy it. Like you don't like enjoy getting punched in the face, but you enjoy the
thrill of being
sort
in
of
the moment.
the thrill of what you're doing,
Yeah,
right? And it's
yeah.
a similar kind of thing
The stakes.
with debate and discussion. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I enjoy debates. I enjoy discussions. I do think debates are a bit sort of useless. They're just theatre. They are just. I always compare them to boxing matches, where a boxing match will tell
People
you
who've
who's the better
never
boxer.
boxed often do that. Comedians do that all the time. But like it's just like boxing, and it's like.
But
none of you
what I
have ever
mean, what I mean
boxed. Yeah.
specifically is that like a boxing match tells you who's the better boxer, but it doesn't tell you who's the better fighter.
How so?
Because like
Oh, do you find fighting is like I could grab a tool and
exactly
I could
right. So it's like
you
you could outbox somebody because you're a professional boxer, but if you meet them in a bar and you just want to kill
Totally
each other,
different scenario.
It's you might have slightly like better predictive odds if they're better at boxing, but you don't know that for sure. And it's kind of the same thing with debate. It's like if you have a debate with someone, you're going to find out who's the better debater.
Yeah.
Like Ben Shapiro can crush someone in a debate.
Yeah.
But like, is there actually any substance there? It doesn't mean he's a great thinker. You know,
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess it depends on like what he's talking about.
Yeah, and so there's not an obvious link. So for me, a debate is essentially like theatre.
So
It's
you
like
enjoy
it's
the
a
stakes
showcase.
of debate, and you get to use the skills that you've worked.
It's like stand-up, to be honest, more than boxing.
Yeah. You're probably right. Yeah.
yeah, because stand up is really fun.
Yeah.
when it's going well, and when it's not going well yet.
What's the worst?
sucks.
What's the worst experience you had?
I've had so many.
Oh, it's just infinite. Getting
Part of me
punched.
getting better is just bombing over and over again. His learning curve was actually shorter than anyone else's I've ever seen. Mine was not.
You ever done like therapy, like rejection therapy style thing, where you like bomb on purpose just to like toughen yourself up for it?
I did that subconsciously. I was. yeah.
Very smart.
The reason I ask is because like it so much focus on I don't think you're focusing on specifically yourself, but like breaking down like what is life, what is existence, what are the reasons for a behavior. What did they say? I think it was Chris Rock was like if ignorance is bliss, I'm the opposite of that. I'm constantly aware and acutely aware of everything I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And like, that's tough. And I imagine like, as you go through these thought experiments, you're definitely reflecting on your own life. And I wonder if there's a moment where like, you just go get drunk and you're like, I'm not even going to worry about
this is true. It's like I don't have an interesting answer to your question because I'm the same as anybody else. I enjoy spending time with my friends and my family and the people I care about. I enjoy listening to music. I enjoy watching TV. I listen to a lot of like sad boy indie music.
It's not working out.
Yeah.
No, but like, can you separate? Is there something?
Can you
like,
turn it off?
Yeah, or not even like, maybe that is it. Yeah, like,
that's the thing.
Can you just like, let's say, and I'm sure you're able to do this, but like when you're watching a movie, like if we're watching comedy, it's probably harder for us to turn it off, right? Yeah. We're like more analyzing it, et cetera. Yeah. And I imagine you're doing that with like life, human interaction, and decision making. How do you, like, let's say you're talking to a girl at a bar and she starts talking about astrology. Like, can you indulge her as any guy would just meeting a new girl? Or do you have to be like, this girl's retarded. Like there is nothing about Mercury in retrograde and this is a...
I think that it doesn't make it any more difficult, like having done philosophy. If you think astrology is bullshit, you think it's bullshit, right?
Right.
And the reason why I probably wouldn't like entertain it isn't because like I'm a philosopher and I care about what's truth, but just because I don't like lying in the sense of like, if I know I'm not going to get on with you in 2 weeks because we're going to have this different way of viewing the world, then I better just be upfront and be like, actually, I don't believe in any of that.
So that's a deal.
Good luck to you.
That's a deal breaker.
Not a deal breaker,
for you?
but it depends how they react to it, right? Like if
also how they look a little bit.
That's also quite important. If they sort of say like, oh, I'm really into astrology, and I'm like, well, I think that's bullshit, and they're like, oh, cool, yeah, I know a lot of people think that way, but like, here's why I think it's true. Then cool, great, we're off to the races.
Yeah.
But if it's obviously like a sort of like oh, you know.
Is there a moment where like you find yourself specifically turning it off because it inhibits your joy for that like a bachelor party or that birthday or whatever?
So,
or are you analyzing like,
well, it's funny, I don't tend to get invited to many, so I don't know.
Jordan, I'm not trying to gas you and compare you to Michael Jordan, but there was an interview with him at 50 where he's like, God gave me this gift, which was competitiveness, and I can't turn it off. Now I'm competing in fucking Sudoku or whatever, whatever thing he picks up, he is obsessively competitive, and he's not that happy about it. He's like, this was awesome, but now I don't need it and I can't turn it off. Can you do that at a birthday party? Can you turn off that party that's like, what is a birthday even, or whatever? You know what I mean?
Like, not exactly, but in practice, yeah. Like I'm
and what is the scenario? Like, is there a concert? Like, what makes you just cry and you're like, I'm not going to analyze why I'm emotional right now. I'm just going to let this happen and have this genuine human experience without thinking about it.
I try very hard to allow experiences to be what they are. And I think more than most people who are interested in philosophy, I do kind of see through it a bit. Like, I think that a lot of the syllogistic reasoning and premise this and premise that.
What's syllogistic reasoning?
A syllogism is like a form of argument that goes premise, premise, conclusion. And like trying to formalize everything into those terms is just not how people like actually interact with the world.
Right.
Like, and philosophy is not how people actually make big life decisions. I used to have this bit where I'd talk about a guy who's about to throw himself off a bridge. He's about to kill himself, and someone comes up to him and he's like, "What are you doing, man? Like, gosh, like, do you have a family?" And the guy's like, "Oh, yeah, no, I suppose I do have a family, actually." And they care about you, right? It's like, "Yeah, you know, my wife, she doesn't even know I'm here." It's like, "Oh, goodness." And he's talking, he's like, "You know, I've been in that situation," starts sharing his experience and all of this kind of stuff. And then he's like, "You've got a cross in your neck. Are you a Christian?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, you know, Jesus loves you and I'm a follower of Christ too." And talking him around, and he really like emotionally finally decides like, "Okay, fine, I think I can." And he starts climbing back over the bridge. And then he suddenly remembers that like the 14th premise of the modal ontological argument fails because of some philosophical like logical fallacy. And so he throws himself off the bridge.
Yeah. So how do you stop yourself from
It's just
doing
like,
that?
it's just, but it's, you don't have to, because that's not how people
That's
think
not how
in those
you
moments.
operate or anybody else
If the
does,
moment
right.
is actually emotional enough like that, I mean, it can be interesting. Like if you're at a music concert and you're like getting goosebumps, and instantly you're thinking like, whoa, and you do think like, isn't that an interesting evolutionary trait? Like, why do we get goosebumps? Whatever, but you're still feeling the goosebumps, man. Like, it's not gonna, and you kind of don't want to switch it off because you find it quite fun. Like, you're comedians, right?
Yeah.
So I'm told, and you presumably, if I asked you something about like your love and your profession, like, do you ever turn off being funny? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, kind of, but like not. It's not like I like get home and like, okay, I'm going to intentionally now turn off being funny.
Right.
It's just that sometimes you're just not in the mood for it. You know, you're
Yeah.
tired or whatever. You're not in the mood for it, and then you don't have to turn it off. It's just,
There are certain comedians that you're like, I wish you would just turn it off, because it seems like and I'm sure we've done it even on the pod today, but like, you know, you're just trying to have maybe like a thoughtful conversation, and then if something organically becomes funny, you do it. But
oh yeah, you haven't done that at all.
no, not a single time. But meaning more like maybe like sometimes you're talking to someone, it's like it just feels like they're waiting to say the bit instead of like actually listening to what you're saying and like thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is a balance on a comedy pod,
like
for sure.
there'll be times when you do turn off the comedy, and like if you're at a funeral or something, you're not going to start cracking jokes.
I found as I did comedy more, got better at it, got more acclaim at it, that part of me that needed that validation is much quieter.
Yeah.
So off stage, I don't feel the need to do it.
Yeah.
And you can tell when someone wishes they could have done comedy or isn't where they want to be, and then they're really forcing that. I get a little irritated, but I also have empathy, and I'm like, oh, I probably, like, we would go to diners early in our career and make the biggest scenes, and it's probably
Just
we
attention,
needed that attention because we weren't getting it.
And there's the equivalent of that in philosophy, when it's like, when you sort of say to somebody like, oh, hey, happy birthday, man. And they're like, birthdays are arbitrary, man. Like,
Yeah.
So like, even if you actually think that, like, yeah, okay, you shouldn't like be sort of, you can tell when someone's like putting it, not even putting it on, but like they're enjoying the fact that that's who they are, right? But the thing is, when you switch it off, like you're at a funeral and you're not cracking jokes, if like, you know, if the guy at the front, if the priest or whatever looks at the coffin and says, you know, just looking at her now, you know, like in the coffin, it just makes it so hard. you're not going to not think of the joke. You're not going to not find it funny, but you're just not going to say it, right?
Yeah.
And so there are situations in which you turn it off in the sense where you decide, I'm not going to like start talking about this, but it's still like there. Obviously, it's still like you're still thinking.
But you can
about
still
stuff.
process the emotion in an authentic way
But, like,
without analyzing the emotion.
I'm interested in philosophy, right? But everybody does this. Like you've been at parties and you suddenly are like, sort of like, man, what's everyone doing? Like you start thinking about like social interactions and how weird it'll like. Everybody does this, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not some like.
It's a very normal thing that people do. I feel like you probably just do it more, and then I'm wondering what the emotional cost of that is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, it will have an emotional cost to do
I'll
that.
give you an example. I have a daughter, right? And I love making her laugh. Definitely makes me feel good. And she's just awesome when I make her laugh. And but I have to remind myself that like she might get just as much enjoyment of just walking around the house and like playing with things and me just watching her and me just being around. And I have to constantly remind myself, because I have this thing built in where it's like, oh, I'll feel good and they'll feel good if I'm providing some sort of laughter. So I'm like fighting my neediness or whatever it is to just be a better dad, which is sometimes just like being there, supporting and observing. I have to fight it. And I'll talk to my wife about it. I'm like, and my wife's like, she had a great time. She was bouncing around in gymnastics. I was like, okay, all right. I wasn't like acting like an animal to make her laugh. I was just there supporting her, make sure she didn't fall. But I have to work on that.
Yes.
Is that something that you feel like you have to work at?
Yeah.
Have normal human interactions with someone who...
Yeah, actually, it comes up a lot when somebody has like a moral dilemma. Or like
yes, they really want to share something with you, get your advice.
Yeah.
And you're taking them through these thought experiments.
It's like it kind of comes to mind. Like if somebody's going through something like a personal experience or they don't know what to do, and it can be very serious or something. And you have just read like 15 different papers on this, and there are thought experiments, and there are ways which actually genuinely could be quite like useful ways to think through, but it just doesn't feel appropriate. But that is the equivalent of, you know, the meme about like the girlfriend who sort of comes to you and says, I've got this problem. You're like, oh, well, here's how you solve it. And they're like, I don't want you to give me solutions. I just want you to listen to me. There's a lot of that going on.
That's all humans.
I saw a version of that. There was like a woman who was talking to her boyfriend, and it was like on an online video where she's sort of like, you know, I just feel like she's got this headache all the time, and like it just won't go away, and I feel like a lot of pressure, and then it cuts out. She's got this like nail in her head, and the guy's like, well, you have got a nail stuck into your head. And she's like, oh, you're always looking for solutions, aren't you? No, you never just want to listen to how I feel. And
but that's all people want, right? Is to feel.
Can I ask a question sort of on that whole area? Do you have a therapist or someone that you like go towards? I imagine, once again, I don't want to over-intellectualize you or put you in a position where it's like, I don't know, but...
I do, and his name is Jesus.
Okay. I was just wondering, do you have someone that you, like, if you have a moral dilemma, do you find yourself, or a dilemma or any problem in your life, do you find yourself having a hard time over intellectualizing it? And do you go to a therapist?
Yeah, like I'm incredibly indecisive. I haven't done therapy, like not consistently anyway. I think I probably should. I think everyone should. It's probably a good thing. In some ways, it might be a sort of a perversion of the Catholic confessional, though. It's sort of like, you know, let's take this thing which is rightfully God's and give it to human beings. But honestly, this actually is more to the point that, like, if I've got some kind of genuine like moral problem, if I've got like an issue with a friend or something like this, I am not going to go to like my philosophy tutor. I'm going to like speak to my friends. I'm going to speak to my mum.
Yeah.
Because there is something about not being caught up in all of that. Like Thomas Jefferson said something like, if you've got a moral problem, he'd just as soon give it to the plowman as to the academic or the philosopher.
Now you're going to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what I mean? Because they're not going to get like
Give us a moral problem. We're going to help you out
in artificial rules. You know?
Yeah.
Tell us something you're going through. This is good. We're going to de-philosophize.
You're going to be the therapist, right?
No, we're going to be your boys.
Thing is, man, like, I think it's more fun to talk about the sort of weird, wacky, ridiculous, like ethical dilemmas.
You don't like talking about yourself.
No, because then when the real ones come up, like it's.
Why don't you like talking about
easier
yourself?
to work through them? Because I'm like quite uninteresting. You know, I am a.
Ooh, now we're getting somewhere, bro.
I am just a mouthpiece for other people's ideas. That's what I do on the internet. You know.
You think that reflects a low self-worth?
I don't think so, because I think I know what I'm good at and I stick to it. You know, like I don't think.
Would you be worth something if you weren't good at it?
I don't know. I mean,
Why not?
Because I don't think that worth exists. I'm not an objective. so kind of like
Well,
no, but
yes.
trivially no.
So if worth doesn't exist, then you would be worth just as much as anybody else.
Yeah, I think so. That's the thing.
And just as interesting.
Well, maybe, but I mean, like,
Depending on the thing, like clearly you're interesting to us, right?
but the thing is, man, like when I say that that's
Kant or
that's what I
Nietzsche
think I'm good at, or that's what I'm interesting,
Yeah.
like, or that's what I can talk about. That's not like to doubt, because you say like, well, if you didn't have that interesting thing about you, would you still be interesting? It's like, well, no, but in the same way I could say like, if you weren't funny, would you still be funny? It's like,
Well, it depends who you're talking to, I guess. Like,
Yeah, it
I might
does.
find what I might find the most interesting thing about you is your hesitation to talk about yourself.
right.
Like that's what I really want to know about.
But I mean, like, what do you want to know?
I want to know the last like moral dilemma that you've been in.
Well, genuinely, the reason why I hesitate to answer that is just because I struggle to remember exactly. Like the last time I had like a serious moral quandary.
What about not serious? What about just like a disagreement you got into?
Interpersonal conflict.
Yeah, your girl's mom was saying something annoying.
Honestly, man, like I don't know, you know, like putting so. What was the last moral? What was the last
Don't
moral
put it on
conflict you
me.
had? Like, genuinely, I don't know. I
put
can't-
it on me.
I don't think I can remember. Oh, I think. Oh, I remember now. Yeah. So I was booking a train up to.
It's all about trains, isn't
up to
it?
DC.
There's 5 people. You're not gonna believe.
No, talk to us. This is so good. I mean, there's so much analysis. Of,
I did
of
have.
the
I
world.
was on a train once, and I saw a bunch of like workmen like on the tracks, and I posted a picture because I was like, man, I have trained for this moment. I'm like, I'm so ready. You know who to call. I was getting on a train, or I was booking a train, and I thought to myself, I was trying to choose between which like class of seat.
Yes.
Because I wanted to get some work done. I was like, should I get the fancy first class thing where you get the space and stuff?
Yeah.
And I was like, it'd be like an extra like $100 or $200. And I'm thinking, I could take that $200 and I could like donate it to charity. Mm-hmm. I could like deworm about 15 children somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
That's a moral dilemma.
Yeah.
And that's something that I do actually think about quite a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Is in terms of spending money, how you could spend it more.
I mean, I think about it and then I spend the money, you know, but I do think, I do think about it.
Sometimes that's all we need to be good people is think about it.
So yeah, I mean, I really was just struggling to think of something, but that's an example, you know,
Yeah.
I will think about that.
Are you a good friend?
I like to think of myself as one. In particular, I have a kind of, I guess I sort of have a philosophy of radical honesty. Like I can't stand when I'm like keeping something from someone. So
Does that make it hard to build friendships?
it can do, because sometimes it's like to a point of pedantry. Like if I feel like I've done something that I shouldn't, or like or something that I will like volunteer this information to people that I
And
care
that's
about.
sometimes selfish, right?
And that's exactly that is definitely sometimes
He's
selfish.
pulling that lever every time.
And maybe that's what's drawn you to philosophy, because it's made you feel more normal, right? Like,
Well, I don't know. Like
maybe you're looking for justification for.
I genuinely just find it
behavior.
interesting.
Yes. Well, of course, you wouldn't follow something.
Because
that you
actually,
wouldn't
the sort of the
dedicate
kind
this
of
time.
stuff that's like life applicable stuff about like whether it's always wrong to lie or this kind of stuff, I actually find really uninteresting.
Right.
Like in my personal life, that's
Yeah.
the stuff that I wrestle with the most. Moments like that, like is it okay to lie in this circumstance?
Right.
But like in like doing academic philosophy or whatever, it's the least interesting thing in the world to me.
Whether one should lie or shouldn't.
Yeah, I want to talk about trains. It's probably just all autism, isn't it? Like it's, like it's trains and it's like academic, like
You've dedicated so much time to your life to this, and like you're obviously an expert and masterful in debate and all that stuff. And like, is there time? I find myself, even anytime I talk to a therapist, I find myself avoiding talking about myself. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Why do you think
Like,
that is?
I don't know.
How does it make you feel?
Yeah, and I think you're being condescending a little bit right now, but there is something that's like, what am I avoiding? Am I like, have I retrofit justifications for all my behaviors and those are fine to me, and it feels good enough, so I don't want to fix it? Or am I scared of what I might find and how that could like shatter my foundation? I don't know, but I find myself doing that.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder if you've done so much analysis on the human condition, and maybe really just your own, and why you don't have like a strong feeling about a certain thing. So you're like, why is that normal? Because I imagine you could indulge both sides in a lot of these arguments, and that's normal for you, where like the average person is like, you can't pull the lever. What are you, a psychopath?
Yeah.
And you were probably made to feel pretty weird that you could indulge both sides. So you're like, I need to find justification for why I can do that.
That's true. I also like I spent a lot of time like really thinking about this before, like really trying to get to know myself in a way. Like spent a long time where I sort of took some time off of making YouTube videos, and it's kind of everyone has that moment where they're in the pits for a bit and they don't really know what they're doing, and
Like career-wise, you didn't know?
like it just in my life it was just like a bad time. There was lots,
How old were you?
There was lots going on. I was probably like 20, 21 maybe, something
So you're
like
studying
that.
at this time?
No, it was just afterwards. I can't remember the exact date or whatever, but like it was just like a period of just thought, just straight thought. I used to just sit at home and do nothing, and I was smoking a lot of cannabis.
That will induce
And
thought, yeah.
just thinking basically. And I would like wake up and I would like watch a TV show, and I would just think about it, and I was writing in my diary. And that period in my life was this essentially like a long period of realization of things that I think about the world. And it was a kind of psychoanalysis. It was a sort of like looking into myself and thinking, why do I think this? What's actually going on? And that's why now I'm much more comfortable saying like, well, I think I have a philosophy of like radical honesty or whatever, because I realized that was something that I was doing. I didn't notice it before. So I have like been through that. It's just that like right now,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel
You're
like
not indulging in that way.
that's something that I've done. That's something that I've explored, and I think that maybe in 5 years I might need to do it again. It's like a little audit, a little philosophical audit, every now and
You
again.
avoid, bro.
But right now I'm really just
You're going to think about yourself once every 5 years?
well to that level of depth, yeah. Because if you want to do it properly, it can be soul crushing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It can be soul crushing.
Because you have to, if you want to do it, you got to do it properly.
Well, I mean, a lot of people probably avoid it.
Yeah, I think so.
And then what if there's societal benefit to kind of avoiding and finding other distractions? And I'm not trying to like make you religious or anything right now. I was raised with no religion, but like I wonder if that's how some people cope with the potential nothingness of life. And what is better?
Yeah, because a lot of people don't spend enough time thinking about it. Like people who realize that they're going to die or whatever. It's like, when was the last time you just stopped and thought I'm talking like 2 hours straight, just thinking about the fact you're going to die, until like it clicks, until like you actually like
Scary.
recognize it.
You-
It's
did
not
you
just
go
an
through
abstract
that?
idea.
You went?
I remember like the first time I ever seriously. I remember like being in my bed as like probably like a teenager or a child or something. The first time when I thought about, everyone knows that they're going to die or stuff, but I just seem to remember this one time when I was thinking about death too, and for some reason it just clicked. It was like I got it. It was like the difference between like, people often think about like how, oh, I'd love to be rich one day, right? And then you win the lottery and you're like, oh, and it's a different feeling. You're like, it's actually happening, right? And I had that kind of feeling
About death.
when I was a teenager.
Oh.
And I was just like, oh, like I was just like overcome with sort of, it like shuddered, like the shiver down the spine, everything. I was just like, whoa! Like I suddenly realized what it actually meant to think that you're gonna die one day. And even now, like we're talking about death, we're having a discussion about it, but none of us are seriously like clocking it right now.
Isn't that crazy?
You have to seriously sit with it for like a long time and really think about
I saw
what it means
some
before
shit
it will
on
click.
Instagram, like the amount of times you'll see your parents again.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, if you can work it out. Yeah.
Somebody calculated. It's like you'll
I think it
probably
was Jordan Peterson
Was
who's
it?
definitely talked about this. He was like, if I see my grandparents once every 2 months or something and they're this age, how many? I'm going to see them 14 more times ever,
shockingly low.
Yeah.
Have you ever dabbled with like psychedelics?
Yes.
And has that changed your thought process or anything like that?
I think yes. I mean, it's hard to say because like my experience with psychedelics came around the time in one's life when they tend to sort of grow up a bit anyway and start like changing the way they see the world. So I'm not sure if it was because of it or if it just coincided with it. But certainly like literally like my enjoyment of art, for example, I mean like literally the visual arts, like painting and stuff, just did not exist. It just wasn't a thing until
I feel that way now.
I'd taken some drugs. And not just psychedelics, but also cannabis. And it seemed to just open something up. And I'm not entirely sure what it did, but I think it did something. I think it shows you that your like mode of thinking is the most interesting thing about taking a psychedelic drug is not what you see. It's the fact that you've seen it. It's the fact that you realize that your brain is so usually on like guide rails that you didn't know existed. And suddenly you're sort of out of it and now you're back and you can remember how it felt. And it's very sober. It's not like waking up from being drunk and being like, oh man, what happened? That was crazy. Oh, I was so stupid. I said that thing and I didn't mean that. Like, you remember it. And you're like, no, I saw this thing and that's what I felt. And I can still account for that. So I was thinking at various times, it depends on the experience. Sometimes it was just like a very emotional experience with like a friend. But other times it's like I'm thinking about stuff and I start having like realizations and that stuff like does stay with you, you know?
Have you ever done ayahuasca?
Never ayahuasca. No.
It's like a lot of people, well, some people take it and they say they see God or now they believe in a higher power or something like that. I'd be curious if...
Have you heard of that kid? Is his name Josh Bassett, the Disney star kid? I think he's the guy who became a Christian. He told the story, I think it was ayahuasca, where like he's this Disney kid and he went to one of these places and you have to like go somewhere and you're with all the people and there's all the shamans and stuff and you're like out in the rainforest or something. And like he starts tripping, I guess, and he looks around and he just sees everyone as demons. He just sees demons on their faces and he's like, what the hell is going on? So he gets up, he's like, I need to get out of here. And the woman tries to like stop him from going. He's like, you can't, you got to stay in here. And he looks at her and just sees a demon.
Oof.
And he's like, and so he like pushes past her and runs outside and he looks up to the sky and he's like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Because he looks up and he just like sees Jesus. And he's like, oh, you know, you can imagine, like seriously, like, oh my god, no, come on, this is 2 on the note. That's what happened. And he saw Jesus, and now he's a Christian. And it's weird because for people who've done psychedelics, I don't know if you've all done psychedelics before. I don't know how you know. Try
dabbles in mushrooms, but
you ever had like a serious visual?
No.
So you know how people say like, oh, like dude, I did psychedelics and like, you know, like I saw a chameleon or something.
Yeah.
It's not like you're literally seeing like a chameleon run into the room and climb up. It's hard to explain. The best explanation I've ever found of what I experienced at least was, you know how like when you see something that looks a little bit like a face, but it's not really a face. And the human tendency to see faces in things.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I look at like, you know, 2 drain pipes and a line underneath them, right. Say, oh, I saw a face.
Yeah.
I don't literally think I saw an actual face in the wall. What I'm trying to say is for some reason that presented itself to me as a face.
Yeah.
That was what a lot of the psychedelic visuals were a bit like. Like when I see a chameleon on a tree, I meant to see that the tree in some sense, for some reason, like presented itself as a chameleon to me, but I was under no confusion about what I was actually seeing.
I felt the same way, like doing mushrooms, seeing trees move.
Yep.
It was less the visual of seeing the trees moving and more the feeling that the trees moving made sense.
Yeah, and they're like breathing and shifting.
And that I wasn't concerned about it. And that I wasn't like, it's less like, for me at least, psychedelics was less the visual, but it's more the feeling that the visuals make complete sense.
I had the feeling of bliss and like being thankful to God and then thinking, oh, the closer I get to God, the more I feel this just generally. And then I looked in a mirror. We were at Mercer Labs, which is like this visual play. There's like this wall of mirrors or whatever. I looked into a mirror one time and I was really tripping and I saw myself aging into like a 70-year-old, 80-year-old man.
Oh,
it was
wow.
insane.
That's
like I
dope.
saw, my eyes already kind of sunken in. It sunk in more. I saw more grays. I saw more wrinkles. And I remember taking from that, I was like, oh, you're tired. You're not taking good enough care of yourself. This was like 6 months ago. I went with Jordan Shallow and them. And I was like, I need to get better care of myself.
But it wouldn't be the same as seeing a filter of yourself as an old man, right? Like if you saw a filter of yourself as an old man.
The Snapchat thing that made you an old man, it wasn't that crisp, but it wasn't far from
you
it.
like see it in yourself, right? Like,
you're just looking at a mirror and the mirror is looking at
it's funny
70-year-old me.
I had a similar experience on a drug called 2CB, where I looked into a mirror and I had the exact opposite, where I saw myself as a child. I literally like just saw, and again, it wasn't like I suddenly shrunk, but it's like sometimes you catch yourself in the mirror and you realize you're the same person. You kind of see your features and how it all resembles. And it was kind of like
that. The kid from Adolescence.
So what happens? You see yourself as a kid, this innocent kid.
Oh, and I was just sort of like, I think it was just this realization that I'm the same person.
Yeah.
So like, and I remember like seeing myself as a kid, and as a kid, like, you know, everyone goes through a lot as a kid. You're working out the world and stuff, and you kind of just looking at this kid, and it was almost like I couldn't actually communicate with the kid, but it's like I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I want to look at this kid and be like, it's okay, man. Like, it's gonna be all right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's chill.
That's so cool.
So it's
You're
this
gonna figure this shit
very
out.
sort of therapeutic moment. But then I remember just before that, I'd looked in the mirror, and I can't remember this very well, but I'm sure that I looked into the mirror, which you're kind of not supposed to do on psychedelics because it can go wrong. But I was looking at my hair or something, and then I looked down at my eyes, and I saw like a delay. Like I looked down at my eyes, and I saw in the mirror my eyes come down.
Have you tried MDMA?
Yes.
And was it a similar experience? Because when I did MDMA, I did sort of the overanalyzing thing the entire time. Anytime I've ever done any illicit substance, I keep a ledger.
Yeah, you gotta like write it down.
I write down the experience as it unfolds, like moment by moment, so I can reflect on it and then make an assessment if I want to do it again.
Yeah, I think that's wise.
What did you find? This is in the Hamptons?
Yeah, basically every time I do Molly, I like keep a ledger.
And what did you say?
In Mexico City, he had this. I was talking to because I was the only one sober.
Yeah.
I was like,
I just like check in every like hour or two. And just
I remember you were like, I feel good, but I could get the same feeling from X, Y, and Z. And I was like, well, these guys are having way more fun than this guy.
Well, you got to follow up with me in 2 hours from that moment because I'd changed my tune immediately.
But there's a perfect example of like that, like hyper analysis of that moment might restrict the joy.
Which
it does and doesn't. It's tricky.
To give you a ton of credit, when we've done Molly together, I was overanalyzing at the beginning, and you said, "Hey, don't look for it, don't wait for it.
Just let it happen.
It's gonna happen. Just relax, enjoy, put sunglasses on, and whatever." And I had a way better time because of that. So it's interesting to see that like you're able to.
Is that life in a microcosm?
I was gonna say, such is life, man.
Yeah.
Like stop, overthink. Like it can be interesting in the same way that you might be interested in drugs, because drugs are fascinating, right? Like why does taking a tiny little pill or something have this crazy effect on your mental experience? That's really interesting, right? But that is a separate kind of fun, the fun of like looking into the brain chemistry, to the experience of the drug.
Yes.
That is a great analogy, you're right, for like philosophy and life in general. Like they're enjoyable for two different reasons, but you should not confuse them.
And you should make enough time for both, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really fun to chew on the fat. I love it. But it's also,
in the same way that you can take MDMA and never be interested in the brain chemistry, but still have a good time.
Yes.
You can just like live your life and still have a really good life by any philosopher's standard of what good means.
Yeah.
Without ever like realizing that that's what you're doing or thinking about it in that way. And I think that's kind of the aim.
That is religion.
Otherwise you're doing the wrong thing.
That's God, bro.
Otherwise you well, maybe, but God can make people do all kinds of different things.
So can drugs. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
Boy.
Before we're wrapping up, I would.
No, we're not wrapping up.
Okay.
We're not wrapping up.
The train. Would you pull the lever? I don't know if we got that.
Oh yeah, maybe we didn't ask.
I think I would probably. Well, I don't know if because one thing we haven't actually pulled out here is the difference between what you should do and what you would do. Like, I think it's probably permissible to pull the lever, but would I actually do it? It's really difficult to imagine a circumstance in which you are actually certain that you know everything the lever is going to do, because of course in practice, like, you have no idea if it's going to run down a different track and kill more people or whatever. So, like I said earlier, you've got to, in a thought experiment, you've got to assume that. But it's actually very difficult to do that. And so I don't know what I would do.
But you should.
With certainty. But I think I would probably pull the lever.
What about pushing the fat guy?
No. Wouldn't do it. But I recognize that is just that in any of these circumstances, I'm just doing what I think feels right. You know? And there's something about like, you know, Michael Sandel has taken people who are in my position. They said, okay, what if the fat man's walking across the bridge and you can pull a lever and the lever like opens a trap door and then the man falls down. So you're still like pulling a lever.
Yeah.
And you can just keep making the situations more and more similar to point out that there's an inconsistency. But I'm happy to just admit that, yeah, I'm not being rationally inconsistent because I'm not being rational. Like I'm an emotivist. I'm just feeling a particular way about these trolley problems. You know?
All right, guys, if you enjoyed that episode with Alex O'Connor, you are in luck because we have a second episode coming, and it's all about God. Not my God, your cracker-ass gods. We're talking about if Jesus was the Messiah or if it was actually John the Baptist. He talks about Joseph Smith and Mormonism, and he talks about our boy Wes Huff. It's a little Bible beef going on. What does he really think of Wes Huff and his arguments? I think he thinks they ain't shit. Check it out.